movement off the seam, and what I like, they've bowled a very tight line to these two left-handers. They haven't really allowed them to get away, free their arms, and making them having to think a little bit about, you know, how the rest of this knock is going to go, how the rest of this innings is going to go. You know, someone's got to start stepping on the accelerator pedal, you feel, at some stage. Otherwise, this could turn into a below par sort of score, which might easily be chased down with the likes of Mr. Lynn in their ranks. Isabel.
Good morning, good evening, Michael.
Lovely to
this
see
is an
you.
interesting. This is an interesting point. Lovely to see you too, Mitchell Swepson, who had a good outing in the last match, coming on leg breaks, right arm over, full toss to start with, and this is plugged down the ground by Weatherald. The kind of delivery that with a man in form you want to see going out of the ground, really. But hey ho, just the one run down to long off, brings back Carey on strike. The one thing I'd say is that I feel like both teams here are going to put a premium on keeping their openers in, because their openers are the ones that really have done the business for them throughout the tournament for both sides. Swepson bowling to Carey, who just drives that into the covers, and there is no run, hits the man at cover, 30 for no wicket.
Yeah, so it's been a very cagey start, hasn't it? Really,
yeah, I just wonder whether in the back of their mind they know they've had a very sort of misfiring middle order. So this is full and driven back at the bowler. It's a dot ball, and that pressure's going to build. It's all very well saying that we've got Carey and Weatherald in. They're the form batters for the strikers throughout this tournament. But they're going to have to find that form now. It's that kind of constant weighing it up in the mind, you know, thinking, right, we need to stay in. But you've got to start scoring some runs, fellas. There's a big swing and a miss. This goes through to the keeper. Carey, big lunge forward, trying to sweep it into the offside, into the onside even. It's gone underneath the bat, flowing through the sort of half-hearted attempt at the stumping. He's always in. But it's another dot. Swepson going well. Just one off his 4 deliveries so far.
Yeah, this is very much right shoulder versus left shoulder moment, isn't it? As a batting unit, you know, do I, don't I? You know, we need to get runs on the board, but then you're hearing the coach's voice in the back of in your peripheral just saying, stay in, stay in.
It's a cruel game, cricket. It really is. Carey waits, reverse sweep. He gets hold of this one, not fully, but enough to get at least one. And it will be just one as he runs down to the other end. Reverse sweep, just managed to evade the man at point, but there's a man out at cover point, sweeping the boundary. 31 for no wicket. Final ball of the 6th over. What an opening over for Swepson. 2 off it so far. Final ball to come. Here we go. And there's cries a catch as it's a cut aerially just backward a point, and a good diving stop on the boundary. Down at backward point. They're coming back for 2. Will it be 3? I think it will be. So 3 runs off that final delivery, but still Swepson there, not too bad figures at all. 34 for no wicket, 6 overs gone.
Yeah, and he'll be delighted with that to come and just after the power play to only go for 5 first over. He'd happily take that. Yeah, I do feel it's a little bit of a cagey start from these two batters, and it kind of backs up my point earlier about, you know, trying to keep normality in even though the stakes in this game are quite high. Not trying to change too much. You know, watching Carey and Weatherall through this tournament, they've generally been quite aggressive. There is probably now a very good case for saying, well, you know, maybe is it a little bit too samey? You know, maybe the likes of Phil Salt, right hand, left hand, to break it up. You know, I felt Phil Salt did a great job at the top of the order. And if you were going to change things up, maybe that was the thing to do, just to not be predictable. These Brisbane Heat bowlers haven't had to change their line really. 2 left-handers. I think that might have been maybe the way to go. I mean, it's, you know, it's always a great perspective. Excuse me. Great. Hindsight's a beautiful thing, as they say.
Here comes Lewis Gregory, the Englishman, right arm over, full toss, and plugged into the offside. Weatherald. There's a good diving stop by Ben Laughlin at where was he feeling? Mid-off there. Just diving to his right. There is again another full toss to start it, and Weatherald really giving it everything he's got, but a good pounce by Laughlin there. And it means just the 1 run off it, 1 run off the first delivery from Lewis Gregory, the all-rounder.
struggled to time the ball, haven't they? They've really
you kind of feel as though they're trying too hard. Here comes Gregory again, a slightly slower delivery, and Carey driving it nicely again to Laughlin there at mid-off, and there is no run.
Maybe
one run even.
Sorry, maybe the fact that, you know, of being away from the Adelaide Oval, which is obviously their home ground, smaller ground, you know, now having to play on the bigger boundaries, maybe that's
just the pressure of knockout cricket.
It is.
With the strikers, I mean, they're the proven performers in knockout rounds as compared to heaters. Gregory, right arm over once more, down the leg side. It's going to go through to the keeper. Surely it will be called wide. It is indeed by the umpire, as he swivels on his heels, signals to the scorers, and that will be, well, a timely run added to the total, at least for the strikers. You wonder, I mean, Salt, of course, you know, he's been pushed back down to 3. He likes opening. He's the one right-handed batter in a top 5 of left-handers. If you think Carey, Weatherald, this is pulled nicely by Weatherald down to fine leg on the boundary. Again, another single.
It was just a very odd move. You know, it was just a very odd move. I could understand if Phil Salt was out of nick and hadn't been getting runs. I mean, he'd been getting them off to Jenny quite a lot of flyers, which is his role, really. If you think if someone like him is there after 4 overs, it's a Brucey bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, so Carey and Weatherald are left-handers, the 2 openers, and you've got Head and Renshaw after Salt as well. So it's quite unusual, really. Yeah. As Gregory in to Carey and just turning it off his hips, but there is no run.
I mean, that's a classic case scenario, isn't it? Where, you know, for me, that length's got to disappear at this stage. Yeah. You know, for someone like Alice Carey, I mean, you're in great touch. You're coming off the back of a very good 100 only 2 games ago. You know, to be patting that back to the bowler, I mean, that's the perfect. I'm sitting there thinking, clear the front leg.
Give it to me, absolutely. Yeah. Gregory again into Carey, trying to hit it into the onside, again on his back foot, trying to pull it, but not timing it, and gets just a single. Man out at mid-wicket. 39 for no wicket. Yes, I sort of walked into the commentary box this morning boldly proclaiming that Adelaide strikers were the favourites because they had the superior bowling lineup, and then the likes of Carey and Weatherald firing at the top. I felt as though Head and Salt could sort of, if they fired, strikers had a better record in knockout matches, as Gregory finishing off his over, and it's a shorter delivery. This one's pulled, this one is timed, but again the fielder intercepts out at mid-wicket. It's just the single, and after 7 overs, Adelaide strikers 40 for no wicket. And while Carey and Weatherald have had a really good tournament to date, they're the top 2 highest run scorers for the strikers, they're going to need to get their team off to a better platform, really, if they're going to get them with a chance of winning this knockout match. It's the first of the knockout matches, the Eliminator. These 2 teams finishing 4th and 5th in the ladder, meaning that they've got quite the task if they're going to make it through to the finals. You just feel a little bit uneasy if you're going for the strikers at this stage.
Yeah, I just think it's very unstrikers like cricket. I mean, you know, they've been so aggressive through the tournament. I've actually enjoyed watching the likes of Weatherall and Carey at the top of the order. Phil Salt, as I mentioned before. What I'm seeing at the moment is very much, you know, we talk about that hook, don't we, all the time. I think if I was a Jason Gillespie, I think I'd be.
Swepson continues to Weatherald, full, driven down the ground, out to long off. Man, they're racing in. 1 more to the total, 41 for no wicket. And look at Weatherald now, right? 28 from 23. Well, his last innings was 80 not out from 47.
Yeah.
Slightly different dynamic at the moment. Swepson is bowling well. Full, and this is hit into the slot. Has it got enough on it? I think it does. Only just into the leg side. In between 2 men patrolling the boundary. 1 at mid-wicket, 1 at long on. They race towards it, and I think it's managed to go all the way, or has it just landed 1 bounce? Yes, it has, just before the rubber on the boundary ropes. He's going to get just the 4 for it, but that's a welcome boundary. It's been a while. 45 for no wicket.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what Alex Carey's got to do. I mean, I was just about to say, if I was Jason Gillespie as a coach, that hook was getting close to, to pulling Alex Carey off. 9 off 20 balls.
Swepson into Carey, shouts of catch as it's full and it's plugged down the ground and straight into the hands of the man at long on. Bartlett didn't have to move that much. Couple of strides forward and he's taken an easy catch, and Carey, well, he's been the highest run scorer, a real performer for the strikers throughout this tournament, but that's a really un-Carey-like innings. He goes for 13, he's faced 22 deliveries, and strikers halfway through the 8th over of 45 for 1.
Yeah, I just think it was a bit of a nonsense innings, really. You know, someone like Swepson coming on, no spin, no turn. On a good pitch, you would say there's no demons, and put the foot down. You've got to get you know, this is knockout cricket now. You can't afford to leave it anything on the pitch here. You're better off going down in a blaze of in a ball of fire, as they say. I think, you know, Weatherall's gone nicely at the other end, but you know, Alex Carey 9 off 20. For me, had to go a lot sooner. Otherwise, give someone else a go, which is now the case. So you hope now that Travis Head, you know, experienced international cricketer, can and a very fine T20 player in his own right. You know, they've got to be a lot more aggressive to these Brisbane Heat spinners, in my opinion. Yeah,
in a way, you only sort of hope that Carey dismissal didn't come too late for the strikers. But Head is an explosive. I remember watching him, and I think it was a New Year's Eve match down at the Adelaide Oval in 2015. He scored a century to bring them a thrilling win. I'm trying to think who it was.
It wasn't against us, so I'm happy. I was happy.
But it was absolutely fireworks there, certainly more ways than one, as this is an attempted pull shot down the leg side. There's a cry for caught behind. Swepson went up, but I think it was more speculative than anything. Head's first delivery, it's called a wide, in fact. 45 for 1. It was the keeper went up as well. Trying to convince the umpire. This one, again, pitched on leg side and turned round the corner by Head. Going to get his first runs for it, and the ball's just cut off. A little bit of a misfield as the man at deep, fine leg comes sliding round across the boundary. Didn't pick it up cleanly, but stopped it going over the boundary rope. Head picks up 2, 48 for 1.
Yeah, it was just getting that one wrong, Swepson, just a little bit too straight, and Head just sort of tucking that round the corner.
Head waits, and this is full into the offside, tries to drive it past the man at cover, doesn't get there. Dot ball, 48 for 1.
Yeah, Skekety just looking like he might have just shut his knee in the ground a little bit there. Yeah. It's a ground you have to be careful diving on. It's a sand-based sort of surface, so sometimes your knee can plug in the surface if you're not careful.
Swepson in again, right arm over, and this is full, and an attempted sweep by Head. They're going to go up for the review because the keeper reckons he's got him stumped. The bails came off and umpire signalling up to the television cameras. Head, he reckons he's all right. He looks a little bit uneasy.
He's not sure, is he?
You just wonder whether his back leg just raised a little bit. Quick hands from the keeper. We're going to have a look at the replay now. The delivery's all right. Head there going through the motions, trying to sweep. His foot's come out, but then I think it's just managed to stay the right side. Yes, quite.
Just a spike.
It's one of those, want to sharpen those spikes just to make sure.
That's it. Yeah.
Reaching from the keeper. We're seeing the replay now. An attempted sweep shot. I think he's just managed that kind of reaction, isn't it? Innate reaction. Oh, got to get it back in. I think he has just about, but Head there. Well, we were talking about Carey misfiring, and Head, he's a explosive batter, but he's not really found the timing so far. We're just looking up at the TV screen. Decision pending, not out as we thought, but that's going to unsettle him perhaps, Michael.
It definitely seems to be a shift in mentality. He's come out, whether he's a little bit annoyed with what he's seen so far. The two guys so far not really got on with it. You can see he's coming with a real intent to try and put Swepson off his length, employing the slog sweeps early doors, but like you say, not really finding the timing. So maybe perhaps you know, the wicket isn't as good as we give
That's the other thing to say. Both teams need to battle on it first before you can judge it.
Yes, good old-fashioned cricket.
But Swepson, 2 overs, 1 for 13, and considering that he seems to be working with his leg breaks, they're going to try somebody else who's also been successful with their leg breaks. And that, of course, is Marnus Labuschagne, or Labuschagne, depending on how you want to try and pronounce it. I mean, all variants are welcome. I think he said he's quite comfortable with however you decide to try and pronounce it. He picked up 3 wickets last match, and he's in. Right arm over to Weatherall, pushing him onto his back foot as he chopped it into the offside for a single, out to cover point on the boundary, 49 for 1. Yeah, Labuschagne coming back from his test duties, picked up 3 for 35 off his 4 overs in the last match. It was an all-round performance that really helped Heat into the final rounds of this BBL. He's the man mic'd up as well, that big fluffy mic protruding from his shirt. He tosses the ball from right to left. Very busy cricketer, as we know. Very intense, here he is, right arm over, floated down the track, comes head, turns it into the onside, no run. 49 for 1, into the 9th over even.
Yeah, you would say very useful cricketer, Marnus Labuschagne, isn't he? Comes, was he fantastic test batsman?
Labuschagne again floated up and swept nicely by head into the onside. He's let out on the square leg boundary. Pulls him through for a single, 50 for 1 then, halfway through the 9th. Talk about Labuschagne as a Steve Smith mini-me. I reckon he's a superior bowler these days.
Yeah, he's done a very good, well, you say a more than handy job for the Brisbane Heat.
And again, this one back of a length, Weatherall onto his back foot, carves it into the offside. Nice little stroke of the bat. Cover point Fields, 51 for 1.
Yeah, and not a bad man to imitate, you would say. Steve Smith is as his hero, and you'd say fair enough.
he's a pretty decent role model as they come. Slightly unorthodox, don't mind that though. This one's flatter, and there's a shout of catch as he's pulled it flat just before Lewis Gregory there, diving at mid-wicket. He's in the circle. I don't think it was quite a chance. Did it land just in front of him? It was over a minute. It was hit hard and flat, and yet it bounced just in front of him. And in fact, Gregory there doing well to stop the run. And there's a cry for LBW here as head, little paddle sweep into the onside. Definitely got a bat on it, and I don't know quite whether Labuschagne thought that maybe it hit. I've got no idea where he think it hit. It was definitely a fair bit of bat on there.
I'm chuckling because I thought he just absolutely middled it, and it's just the appeal down on one knee, eyes bulging. I'm thinking, mate, he's hit the cover off that. What are
maybe
you
it was just, it was such a delicate little paddle that he thought it couldn't possibly be bat. It must have been pad. He was down on one knee, and safe to say, not a single other Heat fielder was there supporting him in the appeal. 9 overs gone, 51 for 1. The two X-Factor players for each team pop up onto our screens. Wells and Nielsen for the strikers, Wildermuth and Morkel. Morning Morkel, of course, playing as a local player owing to being married to an Australian onto our screens. Will any of the two bring one on? We shall see. Swepson continues the spin twin formula for the Brisbane Heat. It's down the leg side, but Weatherall just trying to pop it into the leg side. It's a bit of bat, it's a leading edge, and there is no run. It pops in front of him. So 51 for 1. Gosh, this is a low score when you think we're nearing the halfway mark. Lots to be done from the strikers as Weatherall again onto his back foot, just turning it into the onside. Swepson is roaring after the ball, trying to field off his own bowling, but the man patrolling the boundary at mid-wicket makes it to it first. But again, another single. Not going to do it in singles. Strikers, afraid not. A very intense Carey sitting on the sideline.
It's just not been that intent, is it? Really, I mean, you think Mitchell Swepson has not played a heap of cricket recently of recent times, and
Swepson floated up. That's turned a lot, and it's hit.
Maybe the wicket is just slightly holding up enough for the.
Yeah, it's funny because Weatherall's there, just kind of giving himself room, trying to pull it, and it's just kind of turned a lot and really sort of caught in the turf. And head, in fact, trying to pull it and getting nothing on it, dot ball. And again, this one outside the off stump, trying to cut it, giving himself room. and he's got a thick bottom edge, carved it into the wicket, almost hit his wicket in fact, as a one-hand, one-bounce catch from the keeper behind the stumps. 14 runs so far off Swepson's 2.5 overs now, as this is cut into the offside, straight to backward point, and there is no run. This is really tough stuff.
It's definitely building, isn't it? Something's going to break here.
Cannot get it away. Head now, 3 from 10. Weatherall 31 from 27 as Swepson tosses the ball between hands. Final ball of the 10th over, 52 for 1. What's he going to do? What's Head going to do? Flattest deliveries, turning onto the onside, pushed into his crease. Just the one from it, and well, Swepson 3 overs, he's bowled 15 runs off them, 1 wicket as well, 53 for 1 at the halfway stage, and strikers, my goodness, they're going to have to go at it in these final 10 as the Heat coaching staff, the drinks come on, the men in their bright lapels as well, and Darren Lehman, the Heat coach, looking very animated, eyes lit up. I think he's looking very happy as Michael Carberry departs. He's done his stint for the time being. In comes Henry Moran, and I mean, it's really difficult really to say as strikers, yes, they really rely on the top order, and they've got some very explosive batters. Phil Salton next, Head in at the moment, but not a loss really, other than to suggest that pitch is looking, it's a pretty tricky one, Henry.
Yeah, it's not exactly been Adelaide strikers as much as it's been Adelaide limply nudge it about and occasionally get the odd lucky boundary. Really, it's not been.
You can propose the name change then.
Yeah, I will. I'm not sure it will fit on the shirt quite as well. It's not really been what they were looking for.
They're not striking the ball.
No, not so much. And there's suddenly quite a lot of pressure, because this is, we're beyond the point in the tournament where you can put it down to one bad day at the office. This is a knockout game. The loser of this game is out of the competition. They say goodbye to this year's tournament, and they're done. So there has to be something done. There has to be some sort of shift, and I wonder with the X Factor substitutes whether we will see potentially the temptation for them to add another batter to the lineup, because they've got Michael Neser currently down to bat at 6.
Well, then they have to get them going, because at the moment you could argue, right, it's all very well adding another batter to the lineup, but Carey, poor man, it took a while to get out really. It's always sort of a sympathy wicket.
I mean, the question is, will they bring in John O'Wells? I mean, that would be the obvious option.
But he hasn't been the man particularly in form. I tell you what, though, I've been really impressed by Swepson, and even you could argue Labuschagne has only bowled the 1 over. This is interesting.
Oh, the power surge has been taken at the earliest opportunity. This is interesting. So Morning Morkel comes into the attack with hair like Johnny Bravo.
So Morkel's an X Factor player. Who's he been brought in for?
I'm guessing Bartlett. He tends to be the man that gets the hook.
You don't want to be that man. It's the man that tends to be bought off after 10
No,
overs.
I know. The brains trust of the Mitchell brothers, Lynn and Lehman, they've made that decision. They've decided to bring Morning Morkel on. He's only taken 3 wickets in the tournament in the 4 matches that he's played, but he is an imposing figure.
Yes.
And if nothing else, his reputation will be worth a few miles an hour, you would have thought.
Yeah, maybe you can say, well, it's not too bad him missing the first 10 overs of fielding. He's a tall man, and he's not a bad fielder. He's got a long way to get down to the ball, hasn't he? And he's got a few miles under the belt over the years. Fresh legs on. This could be quite a good change up of things. But just go back to the Swepson Labuschagne. That was kind of where the question mark was over their bowling attack. 2 leg break bowlers, and with the left-handed batters that Adelaide strikers had, you kind of wondered whether they could continue their superior form coming into this.
Here comes Morning Morkel bowling round the wicket. Power surge having been taken, cut away with authority. Could be trouble, could be a run out, would have been had the throw hit. It didn't, and Head survives. It is 1 run taken. It is 54 for 1, and you sense that the game could be right here in these next 2 overs, is it?
Well, this is it. They're going to take risks, aren't they? They've just got to get it. They've basically got to get at minimum now 10 and over in the last 10. They've got to bring the score up to around 150, or else you just think that's undefendable almost in a knockout match in the Heat lineup. Chris Lynn firing at the moment.
No Rashid Khan in the striker's side either, as Morkel is in. Again, Weatherall doesn't play with desperation to find the boundary. He is looking desperately to find the second run. He's been run out. It's an appalling run.
That's it.
It is an absolutely appalling piece of running, and Weatherall has been run out for 31. Throw came in from Labuschagne, and he was gone by 2 metres.
Well, considering the previous ball, there would have been a run out if the throw had hit the target. This one was just suicidal.
He's not even in the frame.
No.
And that is a hard piece of running to understand, justify, put a handle on, really, because 55 for 2, the team struggling, the one man that's in going at more than a run a ball, and he's gone for 32. He got that first run, but 32 from 28 balls, run out. It's 55 for 2.
Well, you say Labuschagne, he's had a sort of, he's the all-round man at the moment. He hit runs with a bat, 46 in his last match. He got 3 wickets as well, and now he's the one that's with the throw for that run out. I always worry about him, his veins popping out, because he does celebrate sort of extremely intensely every time anything happens.
Yes, we have got confirmation of the 2 substitutions that have happened, and there have been one for each side. So Morning Morkel is in for Xavier Bartlett, as we suspected, and John O'Wells comes in for Dan Worrell. So that boosting of the batting is something that we expected and that we've seen. There's just one thing that has been shown to us on a replay, that he had to take the long way round slightly. It wasn't one of those where he got sort of tangled up with the bowler, Weatherall, but he did have to slightly adjust his course as he went to sprint in. But I actually don't think it would have made much difference, because he was a long way short of his ground. So here comes Phil Salt, then, the Sussex and England batsman. Born in Wales, grew up in Barbados, representing the Adelaide Strikers. And he's ready for action to face Morning Morkel with the score at 55 for 2. We're into the power surge. It's the 11th over. Salt right-hander on strike. 1 into the leg side, at least 1. Maybe 2 if they're quick, and they'll be quick enough. This time a lot more comfortable as Swepson throws in from the deep. And Salt timing it nicely immediately. It's 57 for 2.
That's a nice flourish to the bat, just slightly over pitch there from Morkel. Nice one to face to get you off the mark from Salt. Extremely explosive batter, of course. You've been watching the NatWest blast over the years. He's done it right at the top for Sussex. Jason Gillespie, of course, Adelaide Strikers coach, strong links.
Salt waits for Morkel. 1 run taken, pushing hard for it, and they'll get there as well. Good backing up prevents the overthrows. You can see there's desperation now for the Strikers.
That's almost where the run out came from, really, is that kind of sense of we've just got to go hell for leather.
And the decision to bring in John O'Wells is an understandable one, because they need runs. Runs is the issue. Worry about the bowling later on. Let's get something on the board that we can defend.
That's it. They've got a good bowling attack, probably one of the best in the competition, if not the best. But there's only so much they can do. They're not miracle makers.
No. Morkel with that long turd at the end of his mark and the big approach, sprinting in round the wicket to bowl to the left-handed head, swinging almost onto the stumps. Bat, pad, and then dropping a foot or so away from off stump, and they'll get 1 run. So 1 ball left of the over, 6 from it so far, that's all. Not so much a power surge as they were hoping. 59 for 2, and Phil Salt will be on strike. Salt's had a tournament that's sort of gone in fits and starts. He's had runs of low scores and then little flurries of decent scores as well. Came into this game off the back of 1, but prior to that 31 and 26. So he has had good moments in this tournament. He could do with another one now. Salt on strike as Morkel's into him, swinging into the leg side. 1 run taken as Labuschagne and another fielder combine. I can't see who that is. I think it's Swepson out there in the deep, and throw comes in. And just the 1 run taken, so 60 for 2 after 11. The power surge first over, bringing just 7 runs, is he? You look dismayed.
Yeah, only because I made the bold proclamation. I thought Adelaide Strikers had a good chance of making the final.
Well, I think they still do, but they do need to score some runs.
I just feel like, I mean, with their bowling attack, and I think the bowling attack is the thing that wins that wins matches, but I tell you what, it's the batting one that can lose them. And I just, I felt with Carey, with Salt and Head, that's a real. It was almost feel as though Heat kind of relied too much on Lynn right at the top. You could argue Labuschagne alongside him as well, but I felt that strikers had a bit more. They could share it around a bit more at the top of the order, backed up by their bowlers. And then you added in the fact that you got, the form bowlers for the Heat were the leg spinners, and when you had so many left-handers in the Adelaide strikers attack, were they going to kind of pepper them out of contention? But just haven't really been pulling it off. Lacking in execution really from the strikers.
Steketee bowling to Salt down the ground, nice hit. Has he got enough for 4? I think he probably does. The ball's skipping away, and it will be 4 runs, much needed. Salt almost digging a ball out from a very full length, and it looped up over the bowler down the ground for a boundary. 64 for 2, and Salt is showing some intent here.
Well, he's been the one timing it from the off, from that very first ball over pitched by Morkel. This is much more encouraging from a striker's perspective.
Salt on 8, Steketee into him, cries of yes immediately, 1 into the leg side, could be 2, probably won't be. Labuschagne loses his hat as he picks up, and he'll bring Travis Head onto strike with a score of 6 from 13.
Yeah. And then again, it's mirroring that Carey innings. It's just not what you're used to.
No, it's a worry, I think.
I mean, Carey dismissed for 13 from 22, Head now 6 from 13. Weatherald run out 32 from 28. At least he was going on a strike rate over 100, which is unusual so far in this striker's innings.
Head gives himself some space, looks to find the gap on the leg side. Throw comes in from Gregory, misses, and they'll get 1. Not timing it at all. 66 for 2, midway through the 12th over. 3 balls left of the power surge. This was the gamble that was taken by the strikers to try and give some impetus to their innings. And what we've seen is a horrible run out and just the 1 boundary.
Yeah.
As we see a replay of that run out, there's not much to be said for it. In the air, but he's dropping well short of the fielder at short third man, Morne Morkel. And he was trying to play a scoop over the shoulder down towards fine leg and almost got so much of it as to swat it down back towards the offside. It's a very peculiar shot.
He was just so early on it that in his follow-through, it kind of took the ball with it over his left shoulder. And it was the man at short third that actually fielded it.
It is just the 1 run, so Head will be on strike. It's 67 for 2. 2 balls left of the 12th over. Head chases a wide delivery, and it goes through to the keeper. It's not wide. It looked wide because he'd taken such a big step to the leg side.
He's just moving all over his crease. That was such a huge... It's not even a trigger movement. It's a sort of premeditated movement. Shuffling of his feet over to the leg side. Steketee saw it in time. Dished a full wide one outside off, and Head just all over the place, really, which is so unusual. You're not used to seeing this from someone like Head.
That was the sort of shot someone plays when they've, perhaps not played cricket before. Do you know what I mean?
You can't accuse Head of that. You captain the strikers.
Head waiting, very full down the leg side, should be signalled a wide, and is 68 for 2. And I'm not saying that entirely facetiously. I sort of mean it looked so unlike a cricket shot. It looked like somebody that has just been handed a cricket bat and
see what you can do with it.
This is vaguely what you do. Give it a whirl. It was all wrong. 7 from 15 for Travis Head in this game so far. They have got the extra batsman in now with John O'Wells, an X-Factor substitute. But if he's not out there, if these two are just taking up time, then... Well, Salt's been aggressive, in fairness. Head, final ball of the power surge. Again, a big swing, hits the pads. It's going to run down towards the keeper, and they'll get through for a leg bye. And the end of the power surge. 69 for 2 is the score after 12 overs. How many did we see from those 2 overs? Well, the first one offered 7 runs. The second, how many? I think it was, 7 as well.
Right,
possibly.
So 14 off your 2 power surge overs. And you know what? I mean, you just feel as though poor old Carey, poor old Head, they're just having one of those days. Every batter has it. You're not timing the ball. Everything you try, the harder you try, the worse it comes. And I think Head almost at the point where he wants to do a Carey and just go, right, just somebody catch me. Bring in John O'Wells. Salt, because the dangerous thing is that Salt is playing nicely 10 from 6, he's timing the ball well. So then you start thinking, well, maybe it's not the pitch. maybe Head and Carey are just having one of those days.
But it's one of those awkward situations where he's going at a strike rate of 50, 8 from 16, where
he needs
to get out, actually. Which is an awful position to be in, isn't it?
And he's stolen the strike as well with that last scramble down the wicket.
He's got 8 from 16 as Morné Morkel turns on the top of his mark. He's going to bowl round the wicket to the left-hander. 69 for 2 is the score. A little shovel attempt round the corner, misses. Another dot ball. The strike rate for Travis Head dips below 50, which is not exactly ideal in a T20 game with knockout on the line.
This is not exactly ideal, is the understatement of the week.
69 for 2. The current run rate stands at just 5.6 for the Adelaide Strikers.
Yeah.
They need to find boundaries somewhere. Morkel into Head. Again, swinging hard. Again, it goes basically nowhere. The good news is as Burns picks up, that Salt will be on strike. That gentleman who is at the Adelaide Oval, who paints his entire body blue hair, blue beard, looking like he's in Braveheart, the supporter.
You need somebody to start yelling freedom.
But it's very good. But I wonder if he's at home in the full gear.
Oh, right,
watching
yeah.
on.
Yeah, it's a bit like, so throughout lockdown, I know a lot of people that have kind of tried to replicate sort of going out by dressing up in an evening.
Salt on 10, swinging into the leg side. He's got underneath it. He's got some distance. Has he got enough distance? Well, not for 4, not for 6. And in the end, a brilliant piece of fielding, which you'll see the scorebook just saying, I think 3 runs, but it doesn't nearly justify and tell the story of what was a fine piece of work on the boundary by Swepson, who got round one of those where he had to flip the ball back, go over the boundary edge and come back again.
Yeah, that was really good. He knew that momentum was taking him over the boundary. He had to just get that hand, all he had to do, get that hand, scoop it in, but make sure that the ball didn't kind of take his momentum as well. And that's a good saving of another run.
Head on 9. Again, looking to find the leg side. It's a horrible shot. He misses the timing just by so far. It's untrue. And it is 1 run into the offside, 74 for 2. And I feel for him because you can see he's watching
trying.
Phil Salt at the other end, who's just launched one into the night sky with fine timing, and he's trying to do his bit, but it's just one of those nights for him. And we'll get Michael Carberry to talk us through it in a moment. But it's just not working for him.
But that is the cruelty of cricket. It really is. It's a unique sport in that the harder you try, the worse the timing, the more the spotlight seems to focus on you, the more you want to just climb into a hole. Poor man, it's a horrid situation to be in.
At least in long form cricket, blocking and batting and being there,
you can kind of get through those patches.
It has its sort of boat, but when the clock is ticking, the run rate's slowing, all these things that just make it slow.
And you can just look at him looking around, is just going, come on, for goodness sake.
Morkel sprinting into bowl to the right-handed Salt, left alone as it flies through, and it's well wide, will be signalled wide, 75 for 2. So people dressing up to go out.
Going back to that sort of full-bodied blue man torso sitting in front of his telly. I mean, because I can't dress up to pretend to go out. It seems all alien to me. One of the sort of delights of lockdown, the very silver linings of in a sort of amidst a not particularly nice period at the moment is you can sit in your PJs and not have to just go to the effort. But
Salt on 13. Again looking for a big heave-ho into the leg side, but nothing doing, and it flies through to the keeper. It was reasonably quick as well off the pitch from Morkel. And a dot ball. Is that the end of the over? We've got 1 ball left of it. I think we've got 1 ball left, 75 for 2.
But there are others who want to try and retain some sense of normality and do the whole, get up in black tie and put your pearls on and go out to a pretend restaurant inside your home. And maybe that's the mentality that our full-bodied blue man for the Adelaide Strikers has if he's sitting in front of his TV in his full makeup.
I hope so. Salt is on 13. It's gone very high in the air. Can I feel to get underneath it? They should do. Oh, it's dropped. It shouldn't have been. It's Steketee who was the closest to it. The only thing I could possibly say is that in his eye line, Salt was sprinting to try and make his ground.
And another fielder as well. It felt as though it was one of those that was a thick top edge. First of all, Morkel came sprinting back, and then you had two fielders and Salt kind of getting to the other end. And it just, I think he had so much going on in his eye line, as you say. Steketee, the ball came down, and that was it. Yeah,
it just seemed to it'd be too much at once. There was so much going on. You can sort of understand how it happened. 76 for 2 then after 13 overs. Head has 10, Salt 14. 5 Live Sports Extra. If you want to check out plenty more from BBC Cricket on BBC Sounds, you can do so. The Tough as Informed podcast. There's also a podcast, Kevin Peterson talking through his innings in Mumbai. That's well worth a listen. Really interesting interview. So that's on BBC Sounds for you to have a listen to this Friday afternoon. Izzy, go on.
I'm very lucky with all the cricket going on. I just wonder, looking at that dropped catch where the Salt running to the non-striker's end had a little veer towards where the ball was about to land. Slight bit of gamesmanship, perhaps, purposely trying to put off Steketee. I don't know. I'm just going to put that into your head. But it did, for a little bit, look as though he was trying to run to exactly where the ball was about to land, keep himself in.
Labuschagne back into the attack for his second over, just 3 from his first. A single down the ground from Phil Salt. 77 for 2. Labuschagne, who has had a big impact since he's come into this side. 3 for 35 as the Strikers snuck in, the Heat, I should say, snuck into these playoff places. And he's in now to bowl to Head, who's chopping the ball into the offside and will pick up 1 out to deep cover. Or 2 if they're quick. They are quick enough, just about.
Well,
79 for 2. He's changed his bat.
Is that it?
Which
right.
might have helped.
Well, also, there's a psychological element to that as well. It's not just about the piece of wood, it's about, right, I need to kind of reset here.
Labuschagne to bowl to Head. Cries of catch. It's in the leg side. It's in the air. And it will be taken oh so easily by Lewis Gregory. Running in from the long on boundary. And a tortuous stay at the crease concludes. Travis Head walks off, probably with a mixture of disappointment, relief.
Yeah.
And a horror at what's happened over the last half an hour at 79 for 3.
I almost want to kind of just, you run onto the field, just put your arm around him and go, it's all right. It's all right. Don't worry. It's for the best, son. Labuschagne again. I mean, I've never not seen him animated on a cricket field. He does a kind of fist-pumping jig with his arms to celebrate that wicket.
He's an enthusiastic cricketer to the extent that our colleague in Australia, Jeff Lemon, in one of his articles, on the day there was all the sledging at the Sydney Test match, described Marnus Labuschagne's behaviour as insufferable. And he was too much.
I don't know if I can go that far. I feel quite sorry for him. But yes, it's a kind of one where, I don't know, he sort of cheers every dot ball kind of thing. And
I didn't watch every ball of that game, but Jeff's view was that there was the sort of exuberance actually got to the point where it was becoming too much. Matt Renshaw comes to the middle. A number of players in this Big Bash League, born in England, now plying their trade as Australian.
We're a very generous nation. We like to kind of,
we like to, bolster up, the support for Australian cricket ranks. 79 for 3. Much as South Africa did for England 10 years ago.
And in return, we get to poach a whole lot of others.
Labuschagne then to bowl to Renshaw with the score at 79 for 3. We're midway through the 14th over. It's the Eliminator here on 5 Live Sports Extra, and Renshaw immediately struck on the pad. He loves it, does Labuschagne. The umpire less so.
What does he not love, Henry?
Morkel sprinting down, knees flying high, almost sort of like an animated Frankenstein's monster. Mornell, it's sort of legs everywhere. It all didn't look very coherent, but he got there. And look at the replay. Yeah, well, it's not quite doing enough, is it? It's not turned sharply enough, Labuschagne. He runs in, chewing his gum, and chopped into the offside from Renshaw. Throw comes in, misses, and there is a single taken, 82 for 3. Salt, 15 from 10, will be on strike with the final ball of the 14th over. Labuschagne to bowl it. He's got figures of 1 for 7 so far. He's bowled really nicely. He's moving in. Tossing it up, and down the ground it goes for 1. He's actually mistimed it to the extent where they may get back for 2 if they're quick. Throw comes in, not a good one, and they do get back for the second. So Salt will be on 17 at the end of the 14th. It is 84 for 3. 5 Live Sports Extra, bringing you the Big Bash League playoffs, the first game of them tomorrow. It is the game that will see one side, either the Scorchers or the Sixers, progressing directly to the final. The Scorchers, who had a fabulous run in the second half of the group stages against last year's champions, the Sydney Sixers, who will be looking to sit back for a week and watch what happens in the rest of the playoff matches. The other side, the loser of that game, will then, their tournament's not done, they can go on and have another opportunity to get through in a de facto semi-final, where they'll face either the Sydney Thunder or the winner of this game between the Brisbane Heat and the Adelaide Strikers.
Yeah, that's one thing to add, that these two teams, or whoever wins this match, they've got quite a tough kind of on the road path to the final, the title. They've got to win 4 games in 8 days. So after this match, I think it's
Renshaw on strike, clipping the ball off the hips down to fine leg for 1. Salt will face the next delivery, 85 for 3.
So they're in Brisbane at the moment, the Gabba. Whoever wins this match has to go straight down to Canberra to play on Sunday, so 48 hours from now, the Thunder in that knockout match. And then from there, they'll either be going off to Perth or to staying in Canberra to play either the Sixers or the Scorchers. And then you've got the final after that, 2 days later. So it's can you imagine playing in Canberra?
Next ball driven down the ground, misfield, will prevent any opportunity of a run out. In fact, will allow them through for 2 if they're quick. They say never run off a misfield in these circumstances. Maybe those rules go out the window. And it is 87 for 3.
If Scorchers are the ones that lose the qualifier match between the top 2, the Sixers and the Scorchers, that means they then have the home match in Perth. So it means that the winner of the knockout has to fly from Canberra down to Perth.
Yeah.
And then back up to the final. I mean, it's quite a lot of travel and cricket in the next 8 days for the winner of this match. It's going to, you talked about it with Michael earlier, that arguably you get on a run, you get on a roll, you've got informed cricketers, but it's tiring. It's going to be tiring.
Salt has 19 from 12. His innings has been the one that's shown any sort of conviction so far in this innings, and hits down the ground. We'll get one more, and the score 88 for 3. Just to give a bit of a guide what we mean with this innings not getting going. Well, Alex Carey made 13 from 22 with 1-4. Travis Head 12 from 21 without a boundary, with respective strike rates of 59 and 57. Weatherald made 32 from 28, and Salt has 19 from 12, Renshaw 2 from 3. So this is what we're talking about. It has not been fluent. It has not been the sort of innings that we were expecting from a Gabba pitch that normally hosts runs and quick track, quick outfield. We're used to seeing boundaries scored. 3 balls left to the 15th over. The tall left-handed Renshaw on strike as Morkel sprints in round the wicket to him, and he hits down the ground with force and aggression, and a tumbling misfield from Lachlan will allow them through for an easy 2. And that had a lot going on there. It was almost straight back at Morkel. He stuck a hand up, but it had passed him before he had the chance to stop it, and then that misfield allowed them through for a second run. So 90 up, 90 for 3, 2 balls left to the 15th over.
A quick update as well. South Africa taking on Pakistan in the first test in Karachi, and we're into the afternoon session there, with Pakistan needing 25 runs for the win. They're 63 for 2, 8 wickets in hand. Looking like they might be nearing towards their first test win in over a decade on Pakistan soil.
Brilliant story, that. Renshaw on 3. Ducks out of the way of a slow ball. Not that slow, it was 133 kilometres an hour, but he decided to get out of the way of it. 1 ball left of the 15th over, 90 for 3. What is a minimum here, is he?
Well, I mean, I think after 10 we were saying they needed to get to 150. They needed to go at 10s per over. And I think that stands. You need to get at least 150 on this deck.
Renshaw has 3 from 5. Final ball of the 15th over. Here comes Morne Morkel to bowl it. Into the leg side. It's hit firmly. It's going to be 4. There we go. Renshaw gets hold of 1 and picks up 4 runs with a cross-batted swipe down to wide long on. I think as he holds up what looks a little bit like a 90s pager.
Yes,
I think what it is he's lost his little tracking device that the players have at the top of their shirts that tells how far they've run and one thing and another. Either way, he's got a boundary. And things have been sorted out. 94 for 3 is the score. 15 overs gone. The projected score is just 125. They're going to need more than that. Izzy, you'll talk us through the back end of the innings. And Michael Carberry, winner in 2015 with the Scorchers, will join you.
Oh, yes. So if they're going to get towards the 150 mark, the strikers off this last 5, they're going to need to go more than 10s and over. Got the firepower to do it. Salt is looking good in there. And it's not the wickets that are the problem at the moment. It's the striking of the ball, which isn't quite coming as easily to the strikers as they would like. Renshaw there, he's had a pretty torrid time of it so far. Has been misfiring. He's the one that's been brought into the side for the strikers. He's a tall man. He can, when things get going, he's not a bad striker of the ball, but just failed to fire this season. We're just seeing there his sort of steps tracker, his heart rate tracker that they all wear these days, and these sort of bra-like contraptions just falling out, as this one is Swepson into his final over the wicket, and Salt onto his back foot, pulling into the onside. Didn't time it particularly well, but he's picked up a run for it. The ball comes back into the keeper, hits the stumps in fact, and he was way in. Renshaw, but the umpire comes up, has to go and rebuild them. 95 for 3, Michael Carberry. Still, even since he disappeared from the comm box, strikers are struggling. Here comes Swepson, over the wicket, full and down the ground, and fielded nicely off his own bowling there, Swepson. Dot ball, 95 for 3.
Yes, this innings has gone nowhere. Feel a little bit sorry for Travis Head, having been to myself a few times as a batter.
It was a mercy killing, wasn't it?
Slow puncture. Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's just one of those. Every batter has those days, right? You just got to get out. Oh, Renshaw sweeping into the onside, thick bottom edge. They're going to come back for 2. Yes, they are. Throw comes in. Batter makes it into his crease just in time as Renshaw follows through around the wicket. 97 for 3. I'll take their 2s where they can find them.
Yeah, the Travis Head innings, the bits I watched, as one batter to another, I would say there's possible case in point for just standing still, watching the ball and playing good cricket shots.
That was very evident, wasn't it? As Swepson down the leg side, swept by Renshaw, down into the hands of Joe Burns at deep square leg. He made his ground well, caught it low. Swepson punches the air. That's his 2nd wicket. He's had a fine night of it here, and that's the 4th striker's wicket to go. It's that of Renshaw, 97 for 4.
It's just going from bad to worse for the strikers, really. They've not picked a good night to really capitulate, and Swepson, I wouldn't say he's bowled at his very best, but when you've got a batting lineup that, for me, have just played with a lot of fear from ball one. They just haven't showed the usual strikers' aggression. I think, there was a real opportunity for them to put a marker down. I think they could have used Phil Salt a lot better. I think they've just hedged all their bets, putting all the left-handers in one go. I think Phil Salt would have, just broken up the rhythm perhaps. At these stages, look, you're better off trying than not, I feel. I think whether there's pressure at the top from Cricket Australia to get the likes of Travis Head some cricket, and he hasn't, has he not been in great touch? I don't know, but I think you've also got to think about winning the game and who's your best personnel to win the game. And Phil Salt's been good touch. In fairness to him, he's got some scores. He's really looked by far and away the only batter really who's found some timing on this pitch.
Well, John Wells, the X-Factor player, is the man in. He's going to be the non-striker's end as this is driven firmly down the ground by Salt. There was a cry of catch yet, but I think it was a drop catch, but it was driven so hard. I mean, you're going to have good reactions to get anywhere near that. Spectrum got a hand to it, but ouch. And actually, he almost got the run out of the non-strikers end. It was all happening there. There was the catch on hand. There was a run out of the non-strikers end because it almost ricocheted onto the stump. So the umpire having to take evasive action, but it really was drilled by Phil Salt back at the bowler. And they're saying on the scorecard he's been dropped at 13 and 21, but both. Well, the 13 was kind of. I mean, lots of fielders converging on the ball and Phil Salt sort of running into the trajectory of the ball. I thought that was I think that was very clever from him.
Just a little drop step.
It was, wasn't it? He just kind of veered towards you. You're like, oh, well done. So yeah, dropped twice, but he is timing it nicely. One of the few that are for the strikers. There's a slip in for Wells, the X-Factor player that was brought in at the 10 over mark to try and get some explosive runs, but he's going to get off the mark with a tickle, an inside edge, down to the boundary at fine leg. He's got away with that one, but it's runs. It's 4 runs off his first ball. Fine leg couldn't get there, and finally strikers get past the 100 mark too. 102 for 4, 16 overs gone.
Hooray!
Yeah, quite a big ironic shift. Interesting point that you make about the fidgetiness around the crease. You really saw it with the head, didn't you? He so often it wasn't even a trigger. He was stepping so far onto the onside that someone like Steketee was coming in with that long run up of his. He could see exactly where the batter was going. It's like, all right, I'm just going to career a full one outside off, and you're not going to reach that. And that's what we saw. They just couldn't get anywhere near it.
And also, it affects your balance. Hitting out. Range hitting, what guys practice now, you find that your best sixes are generally hit when you're in a balanced position, and moving around that much, you still got to make sure that at the point of release, when the ball's released to you, you're nice and quiet. So if you are going to give yourself a little bit of room, you've still got to be still. What I watched with Travis Head, the ball's released and he's still on the move, so he's never really setting himself to plant his feet to be able to then maximize his power. It's almost then a mad rush with the hands. He's so adamant he wants to go and hit the ball, and that could be a number of things. It could be, like I say, lack of form, lack of confidence. He didn't really get a load of runs in the test series.
Laughlin back into the attack, right arm over to Salt, Searles on his hip, tries to pull it into the onside, down to deep mid wicket. Just the one then, 103 for 4. Wells brought back on strike.
Yeah, but if I was this sort of batting coach, I'd be sort of saying to him, look, you're in those situations where you're not quite at your best, you're better off actually standing still and just trying to watch the ball and relax. Release some of the tension in your shoulder, because it is those situations where you do start to grip the bat a bit tighter, you start to try and overhit the ball. Just setting yourself a very simple base.
Laughlin pushing Wells onto his back foot, guides it down to Gregory, backward a point on the boundary. That was timed reasonably nicely. Single, 104 for 4.
Because you see, of the few boundaries that have been hit, you find it's generally the guys who just try to play through the line of the ball. They haven't tried to, something like Phil Salt. He doesn't move around very much. He's actually been the one batter who's remained, I would say, fairly still. With Weatherall would be another one. Those are probably the only two sort of shining lights really in this very stuttering innings, you would say. And both batsmen, funny enough, have kept very, very still.
Yeah. It so often is the simple things. The problem is that it's very easy to know that in theory. Execution's another thing. Salt onto his back foot, trying to pull it into the onside. Didn't get everything on it, but a run at least. They've thought about coming back for a 2, but it reached the fielder at deep square leg too quickly. Salt moves to 24 from 17, 105 for 4. Anxious looking faces.
It's where communication's possibly the key. This is where your batting partner can sometimes help you out. Just give you those words of encouragement. Look, mate, stay still.
Laughlin to Wells, down the track. Big advancement, and my goodness, he's absolutely pummeled that into the man at cover. and they're going to come back for 2 because he took about 3 strides down, a really determined strike into cover, and all he could do really was parry it. Well, actually, no. Cover got it cleanly. I don't know how he managed to do that. Took the ball cleanly, and because it was hit so hard and so quickly, he had time to have a shy at the stumps of a non-striker's end. He only had 1 stump to aim at. The throw came through. It missed just, but from that, got the overthrows, and they came back for 2, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, buzzers. It was a classic buzzers.
Whew, all happening there. Salt, 24. Short ball, he tries to swipe it over his head and he misses it. That's a really well executed delivery. Nice there from Loughlin, and he's applauded by the keeper as it flies through to him. Dot ball, 106 for 4.
Yeah, very canny bowler, Benny Loughlin. He's got all the tricks, good bumper. You know, he's a little bit skinnier than you think. You know, he's sort of around the 130 mark, but good, great slow ball, sort of a curving slow ball.
In again, Fuller, Salt driving it down the ground into the onside. Long on there, there's a long barrier. Picks up the ball, throws it back to the keeper, 1-1. And after 17 overs, 3 overs left then of this innings. The strikers, I tell you what, they're still struggling, 107 for 4.
Yeah, it just hasn't seemed to, it hasn't really got off the ground, has it, from the first over, you think. And as I say, full credit, I think, it's got to go to the Brisbane Heat bowlers. I think, one, they've been very brave with the lengths they've bowled. They've pitched the ball up. They've been prepared to, you know, I think they were helped by a little bit of swing up front. And I think the spinners, again, the destroyer, Marnus Lamaskachny, along with Swepson, have really put the brakes on. And I just feel, combine that with a little bit of lack of intent from the strikers batsmen. There hasn't been, you know, no one really using their feet to the spinners. You know, I think they've all been playing from the crease, and then it's the panic slog sweeps, isn't it? Trying to look for the big shot. There isn't the tick over shots. You know, looking to hit the ones, pushing hard, running wise. You know, it's just been it's almost like they've just thrown all the chips in. You know, it's all big shots or nothing.
Labuschagne over the wicket, flighted up to Salt, who proceeded down the track and drove it into the onside just for a single. Again, a very determined strike, and struck it well.
Another drop catch.
And another drop catch. My God, the thing is that when you have a batter that's coming down the wicket and smashing it back at you, I can't even. How can you even call that a drop catch? I mean, technically it is, but you just, you know, there's such a little chance of ever holding on to that. As Wells has pushed onto his back foot and just cutting it into the offside. Now to cover point for a single.
Well, I think you're sort of hoping it hits the part of the hand where it more hits the middle of the hand, where you're able to just grip the fingers round it. But and then the second thought is preservation. Another
cries of catches. It's down the ground and into the hands of the man tumbling there, Lewis Gregory, at long off. Down the track came Salt. He's been striking it well, but he had a lot to do for this team, and he was trying with all his might to launch it out of the field, and he couldn't quite do it. And Labuschagne, 2 arms aloft. He's a man that likes to celebrate, and he's got the wicket of Phil Salt, the 5th wicket for the strikers to go. It's 109 for 5. We're halfway through the 18th. And Salt, he may have been striking the ball nicely, but not nicely enough. And there's a lot of strife for the strikers. A lot to think about there, Michael.
Yeah, so you feel a little bit sorry for Phil Salt. He tried to get something going for the strikers, and unfortunately, just not like most of the strikers' batsmen, it just wasn't his night tonight. Yeah, it's just been a very odd innings from start to finish. Mate, look, maybe I'm doing the pitch a bit of a disservice. Maybe it's not as easy as we think. You know, it's obviously easy sat here in a chair saying, oh, they should do this and do that. But maybe it is a little bit tackier of the pitch than we think. Pace off seems to be the way to go, doesn't it? The leg spinners, I think, have done a decent job. They've put the brakes massively on.
Labuschagne, he's into Wells, swivelling onto his back foot, trying to pull it into the onside. Just the one, 110 for 5. Just a quick look at that Pakistan-South Africa series. Pakistan closing in on the win. They need just 2 runs now to win against South Africa. Their first series against South Africa in Pakistan for a decade. Played a couple of tests in between. Thank you to David Battersby. As tweeting in that this might not be Pakistan's first test win in a decade, but certainly against South Africa on home soil. This one is a full toss, played into the onside, and oh my goodness me, that is one hell of a catch by Ben Laughlin, flying through, literally flying through from long on. He's managed to not only get to the ball, flown through the air, plucked it, landed, and still held on to it. It's the 6th wicket to fall. That's an incredible catch, one-handed as well. Oh, you've got to go have a look at those ones. 110 for 6. That was an incredible piece of fielding.
Benny Laughlin, take a bow. What a catch that is.
I can't quite get over that. It's all happened in slow motion. Absolutely. It's one of those, I hope the cameras were on that one, because you're going to get hold of that frame, peg it up on the wall on your over the fireplace, because Michael Neese has been dismissed for a golden duck. But, he'll be sore about that. It's Labuschagne has another one, second in this over. And it's Benny Laughlin who's got that. And he's just actually taken his shirt. He's just shown the sort of carpet burn that he's got from diving across the turf there. Labuschagne 3 for 12. Adelaide strike as well. If they weren't reeling before, they are now. 110 for 6.
Marnus Labuschagne 3 for 12 of 2.5 overs. Who would have thought? With a shin high.
He got 3 from the last match as well, but you say a shin high full toss. They're the ones, aren't they? My goodness me, Michael Neese falling for a golden duck, and Brisbane Heat very much on top here. Final ball of the 18th over, right arm over, flatter ball, reverse sweep at a audacious looking shot, but it's straight to Chris Lynn, fielding at short third man. The overs called. Labuschagne's figures at the moment, 3 for 13, 18 overs gone, and Adelaide strikers, they're on a Nelson, 111 for 6.
Yes, this game never ceases to amaze, does it, Izzy? We had high hopes for the strikers. If you're looking at respective lineups, you would think coming in, strikers probably slightly in better form, but it just hasn't. The spirit of 2020 cricket, names on paper, it doesn't really matter. It's who turns up on the day. And the strikers just really haven't got in this contest at all. You're now thinking, right, what's a competitive score? You've got to be looking at
not this,
is it? Yeah, I mean, you think, well, you've got to try and get to 130 if you can in the next 2 overs. I mean, that's going to be a bit. I mean, they haven't even looked like getting that.
And I tell you what, for all the sort of, the left-hand batters that Adelaide strikers have, and the fact that would sort of nullify the leg break bowlers, the 2 leg break bowlers who have the wickets. Swepson's got 2, Labuschagne's got 3. Mirroring actually their previous match for the Brisbane Heat in their win against the Perth Scorchers. They got 5 between them as Morne Morkel back into the attack, right arm over, bowling to Wells. He's pushed onto his back foot, tries to turn it into the onside, just the one down to fine leg. 112 for 6.
Come on, Briggsy, we need some boundaries. Yes. Danny Briggs is the man.
Yes, quite.
He's the man. Let's put a few over the ropes.
Yeah, Briggs, better known for his bowling, is the man, the new man in for the Adelaide strikers, brought into this side, left out in the previous match. He's the highest wicket taker in English domestic T20 cricket, not the highest run scorer, unfortunately, for Adelaide strikers at this point.
He'll tell you he should be. He fancies himself as a bit of a...
he's a decent striker of the ball, to be fair.
Bit of a batsman, Briggsy. He likes his batting. He's good, decent player.
What bowler doesn't, is my question.
It's true. I've had some decent partnerships with Danny Briggs over the years in my time at Hampshire.
Morkel into Briggs then, and he struck that nicely. He's just chipped that into the air, and just in front of the fielder, running around from long on. And they're going to come back for 2. That was struck well. He's off the mark straight away. 2 off it.
There you go. Where's he been?
Neat looking shot, that. 114 for 6.
Yeah, very, very, very nice start from Danny Briggs. This little bunt into the outfield. I think the way Chris Lynn's marshalled his troops has been outstanding. Also, credit's got to go to him as well. He's used his bowlers very, very well.
That's one thing that's been actually really lovely throughout the course of the BBL, is quite often we've had the captains mic'd up to the TV cameras. As this one's pulled into the onside by Briggs. It's high in the air. Is there a man underneath it? I think there is. It's going to carry him over the boundary. It's not. Swepson takes the catch. He knew where the boundary edge was. He watched it closely as he did the ball, and he's taken the catch. And it's Briggs to go. He may have been striking all right, but perhaps there's just too much on him. He's gone for 2. The Adelaide strikers in the 19th over, 114 for 7.
Yeah, again, at this stage, Danny Briggs, surely you've got to try and maximise these last 12 balls. Try and eke out as many as you can. I mean, yeah, look, short ball is there to hit, but I think at this stage you've got Jono Wells at the other end. You've got to try and stick around. If these two can put on a little partnership of 10, 15, try and eke out, get something around 1-2-5. Give yourselves a chance. Again, very odd cricket.
Babar Azam has fallen for 30 with Pakistan needing 2 runs. 7 wickets in hand.
Nice for someone to come in for 2 runs. Yeah,
well, and Azhar Ali, the man, not out. 31 not out as Pakistan nearing victory. Thanks again, David Battersby. He's tweeted in. He said, enjoying listening to the exploits of Marnus the Welshman, which, of course, he's got Glamorgan cricket links, played with them a couple of seasons. Oh, I like that take. We'll take that one, David. Morning Morkel, though. The South African man. Surrey man as well, of course. As this is full, and that's a nice looking shot. Bit of inventiveness there from Wells. A scoop over his left shoulder. He's taken the momentum of that ball. Tall man Morkel bangs him in hard. It was full. He's got 4 runs for it. Just bounced in front of the boundary edge. 118 for 7. They'll take him where they can get him, Adelaide strikers.
Well, you feel this has got to be the case, isn't it? John Wells, he's got to try and get them up around the, I suppose, 125, 130. You think 130's got to be on his radar, surely, to just give them an semblance of a chance. He's not going to be any more than that, you would feel, with the likes of Lynn and Denleys and Marnus Labuschagne. You feel even 130 is not enough at the Gabba, but stranger things have happened, but you've got to give yourself a chance, really.
Finish strong, I think, is what they'll need to do. This one's full and missed by Wells, advancing down the wicket, trying to poke it into the covers. Nothing on it, and it's a dot ball. And that's all the wealth of experience there from the South African. 118 for 7.
Yeah, just going for the sort of wide line, fuller Yorker. Wells almost Yorking himself coming down the track. And again, talk about that moving around again, just case in point to stand still, put the hands through the ball, play through the line. It's probably not that kind of wicket where you can use your feet too much. Just playing good cricket shots, and in between that, ticking over the ones and twos.
Around the wicket then to Wells, banged it in short. He pulls it high into the onside, landed in front of the fielder out at deep square leg, and to end the 19th then it's just the one. 119 for 7, and we reckon 130 is a kind of psychological something or other. I mean 130, you still think, well, someone's got to make at least a 50, you think, and that's always going to put someone under pressure in the batting lineup. But you do feel, looking at that score now, it does look a long way away to get 12. I mean, they haven't looked like getting 12 and over throughout this whole innings to date, and I'm not too clued up on the batting exploits of an Agar. I mean, John O'Wells is a very accomplished T20 batsman, but Benny Loughlin's got a lot of experience. He certainly won't be serving up, you would think, too many hit me balls at this stage. They've been right on it in terms of their execution. 13 runs off his 3 overs there, Loughlin. This is his right arm over, and this is full and driven only so far as the fielder, but they're going to come scrabble through for a quick single. They do. 120 for 7. Basically need to run every ball, really.
Yeah, I mean, for me, looking at that piece of cricket, I mean, there just hasn't been enough of that for the strikers. Picking up the ones and twos, they've missed a trick here. I think it's all been, fine if the wicket isn't allowing for a massive score. I called it at the top. I thought it was going to be a huge, a high-scoring game, and it hasn't turned out that way. Now, whether that's down to the pitch or just the way the batters have played and a bit of how the Brisbane Heat have bowled. We don't know, but just haven't picked up enough singles.
Loughlin to Agar. Wow. Where's Agar at the crease? He really made room for himself, moving over to the onside. And he's going to be a little bit aggrieved, I think, not to have got 6 for that one, because he went up and under, over the top of anyone patrolling round extra cover. And it's landed just in front of the boundary rope. We'll get a 4 for it in his first delivery. But it was so close to going all the way, 124 for 7.
Yeah, and then you see shots like that and you think, well, it can't be that bad a wicket. So maybe it's just unfortunately just one of those nights where the harder you try, the worse it gets. You see someone like Wes Agar.
I think that's a good summary of the Adelaide strikers' innings, really. Yes, the harder you try, the worse it gets. Lots to ponder. Well, I won't have much time to ponder, to be honest. Just back out there and see what you can do to defend it. 125 for 7. 3 balls left. Loughlin, here he comes. Right arm over. And again, Agar moving all over the place, but it's worked. Another one that's landed just inside the boundary rope. This time he was moving way over into his offside and then scooped the ball over his left shoulder. It was Wells, in fact. There he is.
Clever batting, that.
Yeah.
Clever batting with fine leg quite square to someone like Ben Loughlin. He's not quick, he's going around with the short fine leg up in a circle and just helping it over the keeper and the short fine leg for a boundary, and these will be welcome runs.
129 for 7. This time he's advancing down the track and misses it. Through to the keeper. Good looking delivery there from Loughlin, again applauded by the keeper. I think Wells, they're almost thinking too much about what we're trying to do there.
Case in point to go again, wasn't it? It was that right length, same field as well. Go again. You feel someone like a Joss Buttler, who's made that shot his own, would have definitely, looking at that field, I believe someone like Buttler would have gone again, forced mid-on, mid-off up.
Final ball of the innings. Lots of movement at the crease. Moving way over to the offside, tries to scoop it Wells, just doing too much, really, the batter. That's the story of their innings. It flew through to the keeper. They did come back for a single, so they have got to the 130 mark. And you just feel this has been an innings of overthinking, not timing, trying too hard from the strikers. I don't know, maybe it's the pressure of knockout cricket. I think strikers are very, very happy to be in the knockout stages, to be honest, finishing 5th of the 8 teams. Needed lots of results to go their way. They did, as the players walk off the pitch at the halfway mark, at the interval, as all the lights seem to be going off at the Gabba. But hands on hips, I think, from Adelaide strikers' point of view, but from the Brisbane Heat, it's a job well done. Halfway mark. They've restricted the Adelaide strikers to 130. Michael Carberry as a batter, I think, shaking your head.
Yeah, I am. It's disappointing from the strikers, really from start to finish. Like you say, I think a little bit of overthinking, maybe, caught up in the bright lights of the moment, I think, and just not playing their game. What brought them to the dance was aggressive cricket. Maybe also being out of their comfort zone. Their batters are very adept at the Adelaide Oval with the smaller ground dimensions. I think the Brisbane Heat have used, maybe that they fell foul of that to some degree, not knowing how to play on the bigger square boundaries. I think Alex Carey, who they put a lot of reliance on, struggled. I think they bowled really well to him, coming round the wicket, cramping him for room. He never really got away. I think he didn't play with the same intent I've seen him through the tournament. So I think that was a massive letdown, and I think that it almost spread through the team. Travis Head again just never really got going. Moved around the crease trying to manufacture things, and instead of just playing old-fashioned cricket, and then it just put obviously heaps of pressure on the likes of Salt and John O'Wells, who thought tried his best there to get something going, but you feel that the moment kind of already went when Travis Head left the pitch, really. Well,
John Wells was the X-Factor player that came in, the only batter to have a strike rate of over 130, strike rate of 143. Jake Weatherald was the top scorer with 32, going at a strike rate of 114. So a really disappointing innings there from Adelaide strikers. But we're halfway through, and anything can happen at the knockout stages. They have at least got some runs on the board, and Brisbane Heat are going to have to try and chase those down if they're going to keep their hopes alive of reaching the final. Well, we talked about the first test between South Africa and Pakistan. Pakistan have just come out 7-wicket victors, cruising to that test victory in Karachi. But there's more test cricket on the mind, because England take on India in a 4-match series starting next week and have a few new faces in the squad. One of several players to miss the series win in Sri Lanka was, of course, we're talking from the Oval, was Rory Burns. He's back with the side and has been speaking to the BBC World Services Stunt programme, joining Jim Maxwell, Charu Sharma, and first, Alison Mitchell.
Well, England have already travelled on to India for their 4-match test series against the team who recently returned from an historic overseas win in Australia. England have shuffled their pack. Mark Wood, Sam Curran and Johnny Bairstow arrested for the first 2 tests, while Jos Buttler returns home from the first test as selectors look to manage a heavy workload. England are playing 17 tests this year. Into the camp, though, come Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer and Rory Burns. They all missed the Sri Lanka series. Rory Burns missed it because he was becoming a father for the first time. Andy joins us on Stumped. Rory, great to have you on, and congratulations as well.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
How was it, first of all, coming away after having become a father, and how's everyone doing back home as well?
Mum and Cora are doing very well. She's Cora, little girl. It was quite a difficult leave. In many respects, it's normally a lot easier just to leave Victoria at home, because I know she's going to be all right. But they've got some good support back home, and it was a tough thing to do, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, good. You're already in Chennai. That's where you're quarantining ahead of next week's first test match. So are you managing to sort of keep in touch in terms, I suppose the time difference means actually night feeds. You're almost in the right time zone, are you?
Yeah, I'm on a very good time zone, I think. Victoria's been up quite late through the night a lot of times. So, it coincides with the morning out here. So there's been a lot of chat back and forth and a lot of seeing Cora, which has been really nice. That's
great. So what's your routine now that you're in quarantine for, 6 days, isn't it? Is it a no leave the hotel room type of quarantine, this one?
It is. Yeah, there's a skipping rope and a yoga mat for company, and that's the exercise routine. Obviously there's the Xbox and that sort of setup to pass some hours, and the Kindle and Mac are there doing some a little short course to try and keep me busy during this time, doing a bit of reading, so just sort of ticking over as we speak.
Yeah, I'm interested in what you do, well, not just in quarantine, but actually how you will go throughout the tour. Because I know in the England bio bubble, and I was part of that during the summer, living on the cricket grounds and not being able to escape. You've spoken before about, you found it quite difficult at the time because you thrive when actually you can switch off from cricket. So have you got any particular strategies or a plan as to how you might be able to get away from cricket during this particular tour?
Initially, like you say there, we were at the ground. So I think the sort of separation being in, a different environment to looking over the pitch is probably going to be quite helpful just from a mental side of things. I just tried to learn some lessons from it. I'm generally someone who likes to go out and do other things and look at the bigger sort of perspective outside of cricket. Obviously, having a baby sort of does that for you. But also, in terms of learnings and, more reading. I'm a keen reader anyway, so it's just sort of keeping that up and ticking over. That short course, like I say, just sort of dipping my toe. Anything particular on the go? It's actually the 5 a.m. club, because I was trying to get myself in a routine of getting up a little bit earlier because I like my sleep normally. So with the baby on the way, I was trying to get in that routine a little bit earlier on.
Very appropriate.
And then... just looking at sort of dipping my toe in a little bit of a psychology short course just to see whether that's something that I'll pursue later down the line.
Sounds great. Now, on cricket-wise, I mentioned that Johnny Bairstow and Jos Buttler are missing parts of this tour, even though they were in good form with the bat in Sri Lanka. India came through Australia, obviously, as a weakened squad because they lost players due to countless injuries. Now, Kevin Peterson, I know you know him well through your Surrey days, of course, and Surrey time together, but notably he's one person who said that it's somewhat disrespectful almost to travel to India without a full strength side. Is that a fair way of looking at it, do you think?
Probably not. I think you've got to look at it from the aspects that you're actually managing players' workloads and you're treating individual cases as they are. I was fortunate enough to watch quite a lot of that India-Australia series with the time difference and when I was up through the night. So it was a great series to watch. And by no means would we be underestimating India in any way. They're probably the number one side in the world at the moment, particularly in their own conditions. And they've just proven back-to-back away series wins in Australia, again, with a weakened outfit. So, no, I don't think that we're coming here being disrespectful at all. I think we understand the challenge completely. And, we're going to go our best to go about it.
It's Jim Maxwell in Sydney. Rory, congratulations on your enlarged family. That's wonderful news. And it sounds like you've been squeezing in a fair bit with your life, watching cricket from Australia and no doubt from Sri Lanka. And you must have been impressed, as everyone else was, with Joe Root's outstanding form, as well as 50s from Dom Sibley, Dan Lawrence and Joss Butler. For you, though, and Ollie Pope and Ben Stokes coming back in, it shows there's a lot of competition for places in this England side now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's probably been spoken about a lot in the last few years. That's sort of the journey the white ball side went on, and the squad they built up to have a pretty difficult decision to try and get that down to 15 for a World Cup. I think, as a test side, we're trying to do the same thing. Like we say, we just highlighted in India how important it was that they had such a good squad. And I think us, building that as a test group is a really good thing. So I think, the competition can only improve us as a team.
So what sort of pressure does that put on you at the start of this tour?
I don't think it does, because I haven't had many conversations about what's going on. But, for me, watching how the boys went about it in Sri Lanka, watching Ruti get all those runs and, seeing Sibbo in that last test stand up in that last innings and make a really gritty 50 that, was a really good innings in the context of the game. I think it's just a really good thing to see. I want to be part of that competition. I like the fact that we're all trying to get as better and try and develop as much as we can. So just to, be around it, throw my name back my hat back in the ring. Obviously missed that due to, being at home for the birth of my first child. It's just a really good thing. I think competition's only going to help us improve.
Well, Rory, hi, this is Charu Sharma from not too far away from where you are in Bangalore, which, of course, has decidedly better weather, but you may be touching Bangalore later in the tour, we'll see. Nothing can, of course, match the joy of the addition to your family, and congratulations on that. But on the other hand, you've been away since, August now? You haven't really played any cricket, and you are going to be facing India in India with the kind of bowling attack that just showed a lot of depth and character in Australia. So just to carry on that whole business about pressure, how does it make you feel individually? You'd probably get 3 or 4 days with the whole squad anyway to train. Not a good combination, all this.
Well, no, it's not ideal prep, was it? It's probably not what we'd choose to, but, I've been around for a little while now, and I suppose it's experience that I've got to draw on. I actually played into October because we got to the 2020 finals as a Surrey group. So although it was a white ball, still hitting balls there. I've managed to keep up my hitting in and around, this winter period. So there's a number of balls hit there. It's just about getting out into Indian conditions. And like I say, it's going to be a challenge. Luckily, I've managed to face a couple of the guys before in the Indian setup. So not going in completely blind. And it's probably about just drawing on that experience in these shortened periods that we've got to work with.
Well, you mentioned that there isn't too much in your room right now for company, but are you shadow batting in the room?
As you probably see over my right shoulder, there's 3 mirrors there, and there is a bat sitting in front of them. So,
are you a mini Steve Smith?
I probably wouldn't go that far. I'm not in my whites, but I certainly just acquaint myself with it a few times a day, just to see how it's coming down.
All right, Rory, welcome to India. You are playing India in India for the very first time, and just the way the Indians have gone about their business the last few years, do you think, or do your mates as well think that maybe playing India in India is the ultimate test cricket challenge these days?
It's certainly a very big challenge, isn't it? I think I was reading some stats on it the other day. It was something like 28 out of 38 tests or something, 32 tests, I think, something like that. that they've won in recent times at home. So yeah, I think we all appreciate how big a challenge it's going to be, but it's exciting to go and take on probably the best side in their own conditions.
So once your quarantine finishes, Rory, and there's a couple of you, aren't there? You and Jofra and Ben, who have arrived early. You get a bit of a head start on everyone else with training, and then is it just simply ground and hotel? You're not allowed out beyond that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's it precisely. I think that could be some fairly spicy net sessions for myself with Stokesy and Joff running in at me, which would be quite fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Exactly what you've listed there. That's going to be live for the next few weeks.
Rory Burns chatting to the World Service Stumped podcast alongside Jim Maxwell, Charu Sharma and Alison Mitchell. You can hear all of that podcast via BBC Sounds. Also there, the Tough as and Vaughan podcast, where England's series win in Sri Lanka is analysed and assessed. And if that is not enough, how about some Kevin Peterson discussing that 186 he scored in Mumbai when England beat India in 2012. So plenty for you to get stuck into, but for the time being on 5 Live Sports Extra, our attention is on the Gabba and whether there is any opportunity for the Adelaide strikers to get something out of this game, keep their tournament alive, because I think it's fair to say they have underperformed with the bat. 131, that's all the Brisbane Heat need to make it through to the next stage of these playoff stages. And you'd have to back them, because with Peter Siddle and the rest of the team running out, they know this bowling unit have got a massive job to do, and that the pressure is very much on if they can somehow restrict a Brisbane Heat side that will be massively buoyed by their efforts in the field. The top scorer in the innings was Phil Salt with 26. I should say, sorry, Jake Weatherall 32, Salt made 26, John O'Wells 20 not out. Otherwise, it was all pretty slim pickings. Michael Carberry is alongside me, winner in 2015 with the Perth Scorchers, and Carbs 131 as a target. Is there any way that they can avoid this?
No.
You think this game's done? You think that the Brisbane Heat will chase this down comfortably?
I mean, look, you never know in cricket. I mean, there's, as I say, stranger things have happened, but I don't think Brisbane Heat are going to play with any fear. I think Chris Lynn only knows one way, and unless something miraculous happens, I have to say I'm in the Isabel camp. I was very disappointed with the strikers' batting performance. I felt we were cheated from a real show from them today, I think, from their batters.
What we're saying is we want to know where to write in and complain.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, a message from, we were discussing it, they weren't exactly the strikers. Jason Cole suggested them more the Adelaide scratchers. It was.
Oh, that's cutting that.
It was cutting, but it was sort of, it was like that. They were scratching around. Nobody really got going. We had innings of 13 from 22 and then 12 from 21. It was all just pretty bleak. Interesting decision from the Brisbane Heat at the top of the order, alongside Chris Lynn, who we expected to open the batting. Joe Denley is opening the batting.
It seems to be a day of change, doesn't it?
Nothing's going as we expected to. Here comes Michael Neser to bowl to Lynn. Chases a wide delivery, clatters it through the offside, and is going to pick up a boundary. Is he first up? I think he will. Yep, fielder dives in vain, and it is 4 runs to start this run chase. The equation gets a little bit easier. 4 without loss is the score. 127 more needed from 119 balls.
Yeah, and just a start he didn't want as a striker's bowling unit. The wide swinging half volley, and as I say, Chris Lynn is not someone who's going to mess about, especially with such a small score. But interesting enough, again, not starting with spin against Lynn.
The bearded Neser into Lynn, who goes big into the leg side. It's gone very high. Can a fielder get underneath it? No, it's going to clear the infield. The power play restrictions helping Chris Lynn there, because it was not the most convincing shot. He didn't time it perfectly, but he gets back for a couple. But we wondered between innings, Isabel and I, whether Chris Lynn might just, nudge it around, see how he could go. You looked at us as if we were absolutely mad. Isabel doesn't want to be dragged into this.
Yeah, that's it, Isabel. Don't get dragged in.
The suggestion is he's not going to hang back. Lynn on the strike, right-hander, again swinging hard. This time it beats the outside edge and flies through to the hands of Carey. And a dot ball, 6 without loss it remains. He plays one way.
He does, yeah. Which is why he's so exciting, isn't he? He can disappoint from that time to time, but when he's on and he's firing, I mean, there's no one better to watch. I mean, I've not seen too many people hit genuine quick bowling as far as Chris Lynn and as often as Chris Lynn. But again, he's just one of those. He keeps it very, very simple. Not a movement around the crease.
He's on strike now, but he's bowled.
Seed.
What a ball that is from Nisa. Lynn goes. Celebrations for the strikers, and it was an absolute beauty. A little bit of swing, movement off the pitch, and stumps rock back. 6 for 1.
That was the proverbial Jaffa. Just pitch middle, straightened, hit middle and off, isn't it? So, and I was talking about Chris Lynn, not moving around as much as a batter, but there he didn't move at all, and that's the downside. He's very much sort of planted on the crease. And Nisa, he's a very good bowler. He's very skillful, gets the ball to nip around. And you've seen it in both innings. There's just been enough nip with the new ball. You wouldn't say it's hooped around. It's just been enough, and it's just made the batters a little bit uncertain, you'd say.
Labuschagne comes to the middle then. He's only played 3 games prior to this, but already made quite an impact, averaging over 40, a high score of 49 in the last game. A decent strike rate as well, not just with the bat. He's bowled really nicely. Labuschagne, he comes to the middle in the first over with 125 still needed from 116. Lynn, he'll be hoping that's not the final time he bats in the tournament. It shouldn't be, all being well. He's missed a few games, Chris Lynn, 4 of them. And weirdly, the way the tournament went for the Brisbane Heat, him getting injured actually seemed to sort of make other players step up, and they found a bit of rhythm. He then came back in, and he's been smashing it all over the place. So his 420 runs, comfortably the leading run scorer in the side. Interestingly, they've left out the second leading run scorer in this game. Max Bryant isn't available, or not selected.
Work that one out.
Well, they've made the decision that
it's too late now.
Yeah, Sam Heaslett, who's not played since 2nd of January, is in the squad to offer the left-hand option. So that's the thinking, but with
possibly carrying an injury or a niggle is the only thing that decision makes sense to me at this stage. But
Nisa then to bowl to Labuschagne, defending, flies off an outside edge and goes down to third man for 1. Throw comes in from Weatherald, 7 for 1 with the ball left of the first over. 124 needed from 115 balls. Let me remind you, no need to look out for the Bash boost point, because that is irrelevant. No points are offered in these games in the playoffs. It is purely you win, you continue, you lose, you don't. So it is a little more straightforward. We're looking purely at the 1 target rather than the 2. Nisa turns at the end of his mark, shirt tucked in, short sleeves, bearded figure, and he's running into bowl to Denley, who's defending into the offside, and there is no run, so a boundary to kick things off, then a big hoik for 2, then a wicket, and 1 more single. It is the end of the first over with 124 more needed at a run rate of 6.53.
Yeah, you feel someone like Joe Denley, he really needs some runs in this tournament, just to gain a little bit of confidence. He's had a bit of mixed sort of tournament. It hasn't really got going. He's threatened. He's had a few sort of 20s and 30s where he's looked as though he's started to find some touch and rhythm, but hasn't really put together any sort of meaningful scores in this BBL. So he'd be keen to, I'm sure, to get with a moderate total to chase. It's actually ideal scenario for him to get a little 50, 60 not out, hopefully get some confidence.
Yeah, his last few games have offered exactly that. That's a mixed bag, really. 11, 9, 15, 26 suggestions of starts, but without really going on. Wes Agar then into the attack. He's had a really good tournament with the ball, 21 wickets, an average of 20.3. He is a hulking, huge, powerfully built figure. And he's bowling at Marnus Labuschagne with a wide slip in place. Agar into Labuschagne, little tickle, and it's going to run down to the boundary. Gets a bit lucky, sort of clips off the shoulder of the bat into the leg side behind square. And a little word exchange between Agar and Labuschagne. And I imagine the big fast bowler wasn't saying, well, that was a very good shot, Marnus. 11 for 1.
Something along the lines of, don't miss that.
Yeah. Yes, if he'd missed that, there was trouble.
Cool. That was it. He walks a long way across there. Marnus Labuschagne, as he tends to do. He's very in a Steve Smith mould, isn't he? Likes to move a lot of movement before the ball's released.
Labuschagne on 5 as Agar's into him. Once again looking to work the ball into the leg side. It's wide from Agar. And 12-1 is the score. It must be incredibly frustrating bowling at Labuschagne and Smith, because every ball on the stumps you must think you're in business, and suddenly from nowhere they manage to make it work and get the bat down.
Yeah, I mean, it's that ultimate belief in the technique, I suppose. I mean, it's very different for modern day standards. I mean, where batsmen now are giving themselves room, they tend to go the other way.
Labuschagne again watchful this time, watchful enough to even leave it alone entirely. That exaggerated lead. It's 12-1 still.
Yeah, so it's not a common technique you see anymore, really. Batters looking to cover off stump. That was more the older school thinking. Now batsmen tend to be a lot more leg side, square on stances. The likes of Maxwell's now standing square on to clear that front leg to be able to access the ball, but it works for him, and he has trust in it, and it's, who am I to say that it doesn't work.
Labuschagne sees a full toss, which he's driving into the ground, runs through, should be a run out if he hits, misses. Just a bit of confusion. One thing the Brisbane Heat can't really afford is to have the sort of start that creates drama when they don't need it, because they can just work it around. They don't need to push for that sort of signal.
Yeah, absolutely, but one thing you don't want to lose is momentum, and in T20 cricket, momentum is everything. You want to go into the next stage of the finals, with some form under your belt, and put teams away when you got the chance.
Denley on strike defending, thinks about 1, says no to Labuschagne, and there is a dot ball, so the score remains at 13-1. The equation is 118 from 110 deliveries. That's where we stand with things, with Agar bowling his first over of the game. Alex Carey behind the stumps has plenty of thinking to do and plans to make, and how he can conjure up a victory for this Adelaide strikers side, because it looks a pretty tall order from here. They've got the wicket of Lynn early though. Denley on strike, looking for the big drive, can't time it, and it'll be 1 run. Agar fielding off his own bowling. 14-1 is the score.
Yeah, I think the plan really for the strikers has got to be do what the Brisbane Heat did to them. They just stick to a simple game plan of trying to hit off stump on a goodish length. I mean, the Chris Lynn dismissal was classic case in point. Just running, trying to hit the seam, utilise any movement, be brave, bowl that fuller length, and you've got to be thinking wickets at this stage. That's the only way you're going to win the game.
14-1. Labuschagne on 6. There's an appeal for LBW. There's an appeal for a catch. It is a catch. It all got a little bit tangled between bat and pad as it looped towards the fielder at mid-on, and Labuschagne goes for 6. Initially, Agar's arm went up as he saw the ball spearing in towards the pads. Then Labuschagne got that bat down. It looped up in the air. The catch is taken, and Nisa is the man underneath it. 14-2 after 2 overs. That's a big wicket.
That is a massive wicket, and a very, very odd dismissal there from Marnus Lamb. I'm not really sure what he was trying to do with that. It wasn't a drive, it wasn't a clip, it was just a very nonchalant, casual flick that went nowhere, especially on a wicket that, say, if it is stopping a little bit, why are you not trying to hit through the line? And this is, the criticism I had of this batting lineup in the previous game they played, is that you've got too many batters that are pretty much in the same ilk. I think in modern T20 cricket, if you're going to bat at number 3 or bat at the top of the order, that's the sort of length you're looking to put your hands through to potentially hit over the top or hit hard along the floor, rather than trying to fiddle around. I mean, you look at that shot now, I mean, it's just a nothing shot really, isn't it? It's just you're not trying to hit that for 4 or even for 1. It's just a bit of a disappointing dismissal for such a good player.
Yeah, odd dismissal as well. Sam Heazlett comes to the middle then. First game for him in 8. The left-hander, that is what they're banking on. They're looking at having a left-hander in the side to try and counteract the spin options for the Adelaide strikers. He's in earlier than they would have wanted. It's Denley on strike with a score at 14-2. Denley driving very elegantly, but straight back to the hands of Nisa at the start of the 3rd over. We have a culinary update. If you were listening a few days ago, Sarah Gosling got in touch. Izzy was with us on commentary, and there'd been a nightmare with the coffee filter machine, because it had dripped down into the cupboard below, where all of the pots, pans, And that's an awkward clear-up job, isn't it? I mean, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. But Sarah gets in touch.
Never waste good coffee as well.
Well, she hasn't, and this is why it's good news.
Yeah.
Okay, Nisa bowling to Denley. One into the leg side, no. Siddle will pick up, and there's no chance of a run. 117 needed from 106 deliveries. They're 14 for 2. Sarah says, I'm turning Tuesday's coffee disaster on its head. This morning, as inspired by the conversation on Test Match Special, we're having coffee-infused poached eggs. So into the egg poacher the coffee fell. Sarah's saying, I'm not going to let this stop me. We're having poached eggs. And if there's a bit of coffee knocking about, we go.
Goes down the same way, doesn't it?
Denley on side, slightly alarmed by one that seems to rear up off a length, and one hand comes off the bat. And there's an interesting dynamic out there in the middle at the moment as I try and digest mentally what Sarah's having for breakfast.
Coffee infused.
But watching the Adelaide Strikers fielders is every time the ball goes anywhere, they're sprinting in, there's energy. They know they've got no choice but to give it some.
That's it. That's all they've got to do. They've got to fight like crazy now. Every run is like, they say, like a drop of blood. You know, you've got to, you know, where you can nip and tuck, save runs in the field. I mean, games won on small margins now.
Nisa comes in, and a little flick from Denley into the leg side. A chase for Siddle, whose legs are pumping. And the ball will eventually be collected by Renshaw, who slides at deep mid-wicket. But they have taken, how many runs there? I think possibly 3. It's a long boundary. And Denley does pick up 3 runs. So 17 for 2. With Denley on 4. Heaslett yet to face a ball. And if they can get another 1 or 2, just send the jitters through the lineup, that could make things interesting.
Absolutely. Say, you know, if I was Brisbane Heat coach, you know, I'd be saying to someone like Denley to, you know, go and play with some freedom, you know, get some confidence, get, you know, stick the chest out, play your shots, you know, you can try and kill this game off in, I mean, I said initially at the top, maybe 12, 13 overs with someone like Lynn at the helm, but I think might have to revise that forecast a little bit. But you know, go and play with some freedom. You know, you don't want it to be one of those sort of sticky wins, knowing that oppositions are watching this. You know, seeing how you play.
Clipped into the leg side from Heaslett. Dot ball collected by Travis Head at mid wicket. Well, there's one person watching this game that is longing for a Brisbane Heat defeat, and that is former Heat star Ben Cutting, who has moved to the Sydney Thunder. And interesting quotes ahead of this game, saying, maybe slightly prompted perhaps, but he said he'd love the Brisbane Heat to get knocked out.
It's been spicy.
It has been spicy. Heaslett on strike, lets one go, might be signalled wide, and Carey can't believe it. Maybe a bit of gamesmanship from the keeper, but it is 1 more to the total. 18 for 2. And look, maybe Cutting sees the value in spicing things up a little bit, but there was certainly a bit of acrimony in his departure from the Brisbane Heat.
Never tends to end well, does it? It's never a nice departure.
No. And especially for a player that's had quite that level of impact in their side over the years. Heaslett on strike, driving, lovely shot, through the offside it goes, and the left-hander into the side, crunches it through the covers for 4. That's a good shot, that'll settle some nerves. 22 for 2 after 3 overs, 109 from 102 is the equation for a place in the next stage of the playoffs.
It's just the ball Sam Heaslett would have been dreaming of all of last night. Please just serve me up one full and wide, let me get my hands through one, let me just feel what hitting a cricket ball feels like again, after not being part of the tournament for 8 games, which is quite a long time in modern terms. But Nisa's bowled a nice spell. You know, I quite like him as a bowler. I think he's a very handy performer. You know, he doesn't often let you down. And now the veteran Peter Siddle coming into the attack, and there'll be a lot of reliance on that. Just replaying the Benny Lachlan catch. What a catch that was!
Oh, something else. Stunning moment in the first innings of this game. Peter Siddle, who's got the long tubey grips, dark tubey grips on each arm, shirt tucked in, bleach blonde hair.
Annie Lennox.
He is a bit Annie Lennox, and it's defended
I still can't get that vision out of my head. For the moment, you've had some good ones this summer.
22 for 2.
The bed sheet, Morning Morkel.
Well, I think Morning Morkel's shirt may have shrunk a bit in the wash. It's not quite as voluminous. But my assertion that Annie Lennox and Peter Siddle share a hairdresser is the bleach blonde cropped hair. It's a good look. It really is. Denley on 4. Siddle is bowling to him. It's quick as well into the pads of Denley. 140 kilometres an hour. He's an extraordinary cricketer, Peter Siddle, because time and again people have written off the fact that he's been around for so long. He's 36 now, and surely he won't come back. And time and again he's come back and not just done a job, but bowled quickly as well.
It's a mistake people make. They feel suddenly you get into your 30s, you can't do your job anymore. And I always say you don't lose the skill. What you lose is motivation, because you're dealing with so much peripheral stuff, like having to constantly deal with people talking about retirement and when you should retire.
Denley on 4, off the back foot into the offside, but doesn't find a run. It's collected by Weatherall, 22 for 2.
Peter Siddle's got nearly over 250 Test wickets. You don't get those by accident. He's been a wholehearted performer for his country, well respected. I've had the pleasure of facing him as well, and let me tell you, he's very deserving of all of those 250 Test wickets, and a good guy, just a genuine good guy.
He's into bowl to Denley, looking for the gap in the offside. Finds enough of a gap for 1, but nothing more than that as Renshaw throws in from the deep. 23 for 2. We have 108 runs needed from 98 deliveries. And it's nice to see somebody like Peter Siddle, who in the early stages of his career, T20 BBL cricket wouldn't have been remotely on the radar, but he's adapted his game and he's still a hugely effective operator. And as you say, really one of those top blokes. Really good individual to deal with. And they'll be pleased to have him back after he missed a little chunk of time with that broken thumb, which you can see there's a bit of white strapping on that left thumb. He's running in now to bowl to Heaslett. It's a big appeal for LBW. That's got to be close. It's given. Very full, very straight, and very much what the Adelaide strikers were looking for. 23 for 3. This game is still alive. Heaslett goes for 4, and Siddle has bowled a stellar over here. 1 run conceded, and now the wicket. This is getting interesting.
And it just shows you, that wealth of experience. Line of leg still prevails. Bowling that fuller length, that brave length, attacking the stumps. Peter Siddle, that's what he's done for many, many, many years. It doesn't change whether it's the red ball or the white ball. And it's been good enough for Sam Heaslett. You feel a little bit sorry for him coming in, not really being a part of the tournament, but to come in such a crunch game. But he's dismissed, and we asked for another wicket to make it interesting, and it's certainly that now. There's big pressure now on this Brisbane Heat middle order.
Well, there is, as out comes Jimmy Pearson, who played an important hand earlier on in the tournament in the absence of Chris Lynn. He was bumped up a little bit and he had to stand up and be counted, and he now comes in at 5, arguably a place or 2 higher than he would normally be used to batting, and certainly to be in with 3 down before the end of the 4th over. 108 still needed. 108 doesn't sound much when you've got all 10 in hand. Sounds slightly harder going when you're 3 down.
Correct. And you still got the spinners to come as well, which they bowled in the sort of in the strikers' innings. They bowled pretty well, and I think it's going to be a good game. 1 more wicket really puts the skids. I think strikers now, they've come alive, haven't they? You can see that Peter Siddle, he's revved up, the eyes are spinning, the knees are pumping.
Here comes Siddle into bowl to Pearson, who's struck on the body. There's an appeal, half an appeal for LBW. It looks very high, and they'll run through for a leg bye. So 24 for 3 is the score after 4 overs. 107 from 96 balls. The runs and the run rate is not a problem. The wickets down, 3 of them. The men out, with Lynn gone, and we've just seen the dismissal a moment ago of Heaslett, of Labuschagne. These are big hitters. These are important players. That makes things a little bit different.
It does, and I think Brisbane Heat would also want to put a marker down for the rest of the finals coming up to show that, you know, they're a side in good form. I think other teams now will be looking at this thinking, oh, this is a little bit fragile, that middle order. You know, guys who have not really stepped up and got runs through the tournament, like Burns and again Gregory being short of runs. You know, I think they will be looking at this, how they go from here. How do they play it? And Joe Denley, as you said, you know, he's someone who needs a score. He's been threatening to make something happen, but it hasn't quite gone his way. He's 5 off 11. He's quite a stodgy, but he's watched the carnage at the other end.
As Liam O'Connor comes into the attack, first change of spin that we've seen in the innings. This Pearson will get one out to deep cover and running around like his life depends on it. Weatherall picks up and throws. 25 for 3. There's real intensity at the Gabba. It is the heat of battle, and both sides are really fighting hard.
The heat has been turned up, you could say.
It has, very much so. And it's interesting because the crowd, as noisy as they are when things happen in favour of the heat, silent when these wickets have fallen. Denley on strike as O'Connor is into him. Short, chopped away. He'll feel he's missed out there, Joe Denley, because it's gone to the fielder, not to the boundary.
Yeah, O'Connor just dropping the first 2 shorts, just trying to get those fingers nice and warmed up.
Denley again deep in the crease, out to the offside it goes. 1 run taken, 26 for 3.
Yeah, and this is where potentially someone like Denley can, you know, try and put someone like O'Connor off his length quite early on by just being a little bit more on the aggressive side. I know he wants to try and probably have a look at him to begin with.
Very short, as Pearson will get 1 out to deep cover. 27 for 3.
But you do feel like some of these short balls should be put away, you know, just to let O'Connor know he can't just sort of run up and plop it on a spot here.
He took 3 for 30 against the Heat earlier on in the tournament, and he's in now to bowl. Cries of catch it. It's in the air. Denley drives through the offside. That could be 4 runs, you know. There's a real chase on for the fielder. I think the ball's going to win, will it? No, not quite. That's brilliant work. I think Jono Wells has just about hauled it in to save 1 run. It raced across the outfield, and for the first time in the over, one of these loose, short deliveries was timed and found the gap, but just a little push inside the rope has saved that run. 101 to win off 91 deliveries. Pearson has 2 and will be on strike. Final ball of the 5th over, and a single into the leg side may become 2 if they're quick. They cry yes for it. Throw comes in. Oh, that could have been very close. Had the throw been better and the keeping a little tidier. In the end, Carey, I think, demolished the bails with his gloves without the ball in his hand, and so that will render the need for the 3rd umpire no longer necessary. So 32 for 3 after 5 overs. The current run rate is 6.4. The required run rate 6.6. Pearson and Denley are having a conversation out in the middle, and this game is very much alive and in the balance, Michael Carberry.
Yeah, it is. It'll be interesting what that conversation will be. How are we going to go about this? I think really, you look at that required run rate, there's no real pressure. They're going along nicely, they're pretty much up with the required run rate. And I think it's just about one partnership. Let's just see it at home. Put away the bad ball. You don't need to take undue risk, but take a cue from how the strikers, batsers play, where they as I say, they didn't really have the intent to the spinners. I think, you know, there's not been heaps of spin on show, and I think this is where you can really put the spinners under pressure on this pitch.
Here comes big Wes Agar into bolt to Denley, working off his pads down to short fine leg. Carey, the keeper, will pick up. 33 for 3. Denley has 9, Pearson 4. The wicketkeeper batsman Pearson will be on strike. So 98 needed from 89. Agar, who has been, as we mentioned before, really good in this tournament. He was leading wicket taker for a long while. He's now got 22 in the tournament, an average of just over 20. And he's sprinting in again, upright, charging in, legs pumping to Pearson, who tries to work the ball into the leg side. Will get through for something. Leg byes, I think, is what will be signalled. 34 for 3. Nobody seems to be timing it on this pitch this evening, Carbs.
Yeah, it's been I say I've got it completely wrong. I mean, as I said at the top of the show, I saw the pitch and I thought I started getting the jitters. I thought, I wouldn't mind a little comeback on this one. It looks a magnificent strip, you know, white, no grass, and it just hasn't. It looks like it's stopping in the pitch. It's not quite coming on.
Denley on 9 as Agar is in to bowl. Very short, flies through to the keeper. There's an appeal for a caught behind from Carey, who thinks as Denley tried to get out the way, maybe there was just a little feather of a glove. 34 for 3 is the score. Midway through the 6th over, 97 needed from 87 balls. That's the equation for the Brisbane Heat to make it through to the next stage of the playoffs. The strikers need to defend this meagre total if they are going to stay alive in the competition. Agar to bowl to Joe Denley on 9. 3 balls gone in the 6th over. Denley on strike, and again a watchful defensive push into the leg side, and there is no run. 34 for 3 it remains. The required rate just creeps up a little more. Nothing alarming at the moment, still under 7, but it does continue to rise as this good start from the strikers with the ball to try and counteract the disaster they had with the bat and keep them alive in the tournament. Denley has 9. 34 for 3. And I'm watching Joe Denley launch the ball down the ground for the first 6 of the innings. It's a much-needed 6 as well, because this has been an awkward start for the Brisbane Heat. They've lost 3 wickets. Labuschagne's gone, Chris Lynn's gone, he's lit as well. And the pressure was just beginning to build, but that's an important boundary for the Brisbane Heat, who now need 91 to win from 85 deliveries. Their target for victory is a fairly lowly 131, but 6 there will really help their cause. 40 for 3 with a ball left of the 6th over.
Yeah, that's
a quick update for our 5 Live Sports Extra 5 Live listeners, I should say. Carbs, your thoughts on that shot?
Yeah, that was a great shot from Joe Denley, and I think that's, you know, what he needed to just get himself going, get his innings off and running. It's been a bit of a stodgy start for him.
On strike again, once more goes big into the leg side. That's a really convincing blow. 1 bounce 4, and suddenly, well, what crisis. 19 for Denley from 19 balls. He looks a lot happier with life. Little punch of the gloves with Pearson. 6 overs gone, 44 for 3. Michael Carberry, some thoughts from you. And then Izzy Westbury will take us through the next little phase of the innings.
Yeah, 2 great shots from Joe Denley. Really set it up nicely. Agar coming into his favoured pull shot. He's very good play the short ball, Joe Denley, and just pulling that hard through mid-wicket. And just what was needed to get his innings off and running on this pitch that's kind of flummoxed all of us, really. But on first review, it looked an absolute belter, but it hasn't played that way, and I think batters have struggled to find their rhythm and timing. Only a few guys have really looked at home on this pitch, you would say, during this game on both sides. And yeah, it'd be nice for Joe Denley to get his tournament up and running, especially with the run up into the finals.
As good a time as any come the knockout stages. Nothing like a
come off the hour, come off the man, as they say.
Quite bit of jeopardy to get the heart rate pumping. This is Pearson just turning it into the onside. Head is into the attack, bowling around the wicket, little off breaks, trying to do with the ball what he could not with the bat. 45 for 3 into the 7th over here. Brisbane Heat need now 86 runs off 83 balls, and Denley is having a decent time of it. He's on strike. Runnable 19 as he turns it into the onside. Right-hand side of the field at mid-wicket. Another run to the total. And I'm enjoying this. I enjoy the fact that we got the 2 in-form batters out, the Labuschagne is out, the Chris Lynn as well, who's had a marvellous tournament despite missing 4 through a hamstring injury, and this is turned off the hips by Pearson to square leg, just the single. That's all right for them at the moment. 84 runs required off 81 balls. 47 for 3 Adelaide strikers, an underwhelming 130 posted on the board. Here comes Head, and this is full and just dabbed into the offside. Runs down too long off for a single. 48 for 3. Well, I think both of us agreed that if Lynn was in, he's going to go for it, but Lynn hasn't been in for
no.
all that much of this. As this one is a leading edge from Pearson, trying to turn it onto the leg side, and the thick edge of the bat parries off into the off, and there is no run, 48 for 3.
Yeah, I had to slightly revise my quite bullish target, wasn't it, of 12 overs.
Head to Pearson. This time he does get something for it. Again, just gently nudging it into the onside, back of the square, 1 run to end the over, 49 for 3, 7 overs gone. To be fair, we said if Lynn was going, they'd get it in 12, 14 overs, whatever, but Lynn's not in, so isn't just, we caveated it, didn't we?
I stand corrected. As I say, I'm always happy to be wrong. I mean, it would actually make for a great game. You hope if it does go down to the wire. Who would have thought with a score of 130?
Yeah.
On the Gabba wicket.
Well, sometimes the low-scoring ones are the most intriguing.
Games.
I mean, who would have thought that a knockout round in the BBL would have elicited just 1-6 from the Adelaide Strikers innings, and so far, off the bat of Denley, we've seen he's only got the 1-6 so far, but it's not particularly a bish bash bosh of a big bash league.
No, if you do like big hitting, then this probably isn't the game for you, is it?
Well, I tell you who doesn't like big hitting, and that's the man we're seeing on our screen at the moment. Danny Briggs is being brought into this act. Certainly not big hitting off his bowling. The all-time leading wicket taker in domestic T20 cricket in the UK, but he's over in Australia at the moment playing for the Adelaide Strikers. And what's he going to do is he starts manoeuvring his field, signalling to his troops. He's got a ball in hand and more spin to the attack. Left arm round the wickets and pushing Pearson onto his back foot. Steps nicely, just neatly guides it down, but only so far as Wes Agar at short third man. Dot ball to start from the experienced spin of Briggs around the wicket once more, and this one always going to scramble a run for it. Played off the hips by Pearson. Don't know whether it was bat or thigh pad that got there, but keeper ran after it, as did Short Fine, and they've come away with a single, but it is leg buys. Briggs therefore his nice neat bowling figures, nothing off his first deliveries. 50 up then, 50 for 3. Briggs again, full toss, and always dabbed into the air, and
it's gracious.
Briggs just trying to throw himself, catch the ball as it ricocheted off the bat, but it wasn't particularly good cricket all round because it was a leading edge there from Denley. Briggs trying to throw himself into the catch off a full toss, and in the end nothing from it, just the 1 run, as this one is full. Pearson underneath it, the ball's gone high up in the air, and 2 men converging from long on and long off. The man from long on got there first. He slid underneath the ball, he got there, but the ball parried off his hands. He couldn't hold on to it, and that means Pearson has a life. He's been dropped on 9. And oh yes, Neese underneath it.
I think he went down a bit too early. I think on reflection, Michael Neese, if he just stood up, actually, it would have just been I think he tried to replicate the Benny Lachlan catch.
Briggs round the wicket to Pearson, full, turn into the onside, along the ground this time. Neese there at mid-on gets an ironic cheer from this very partisan Brisbane Heat crowd, which will not surprise you.
give him a clap at least.
54 for 3. I don't know. I mean, there haven't been many opportunities for teams to play at home in front of home crowds, so they're going to give them what for, aren't they? As this one's flatter down the track comes Denley, and he's just managed to bunt it back along the ground into the hands of Briggs, and that's a good opening over for the English bowler as opposed to the English batter at the other end of the crease, because Briggs has just got 4 from the over, and it means that Brisbane Heat, after 8 overs, 54 for 3, and there's still a little bit of work to do, a little bit of jeopardy, a little bit of, are they going to do it, are they not? That 130 total, we thought it was low, it is low, but they're still in the game then, the Adelaide Strikers.
Yeah, and I feel now the introduction of Danny Briggs really is where the game is going to be won or lost for me. He's a bowler that is very adept in his situations. He did it for many years. His career at Hampshire, was a very successful T20 bowler for us there. He knows what to do in these conditions. He's not going to try and
head back in. He just turned that into the onside for a single, just to back of the square leg, as we're seeing replay after replay of that Michael Neese drop catch, which is a bit unfair really, as Second ball now of Head's second over is again bunted into the onside along the ground out to the mid-wicket boundary. A sliding fielder intercepts the ball. Another run to the total, 57 for 3.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think this now where the game can be won or lost, the introduction of Danny Breeze has been fantastic through the tournament.
Head round the wicket, right arm round off spin. Denley advances down the track, makes it into a full delivery, and he's pushed it into the onside for 2.
I'm a little bit surprised Travis Head giving himself another over here. You've got the likes of Liam O'Connor in your ranks.
Head to Denley again, just pushing it into the offside. Nicely struck, in fact, and they're going to come back for 2. Yes, they are. Just rotating it nicely here. Denley just up and down the wicket. Nothing fancy at this stage. They don't need anything fancy. They need 70 runs from the next 68 balls. They've got 7 wickets in hand. Denley 28 from 26. Head around the wicket again, and this is down the leg side, swept, and all Denley will be frustrated at that because if he'd left it alone, it'd been a wide ball. But there's a fielder at short, fine leg, and he swept it straight to him. Annoying, but it's all right. Just recollect his thoughts. 61 for 3. And again, down the leg side, turns into the hands of the keeper. This one is called a wide. It's another run to the total.
Yeah, this over makes no sense for me, really. You've got Liam O'Connor.
Final ball of the 9th, and there's an appeal for LBW, not out. It was coming around the wicket off spinners. It's going to be a pretty difficult LBW call, that one. And it is at least a dot ball then as far as the Adelaide strikers are concerned. So Head's bowled 2 overs. He's gone for 13 runs, no wickets, 62 for 3. I guess his thinking was the fact that the spinners did the job for the Brisbane Heat. Maybe he felt something similar, slow the pace off the ball, but it does look as though Peter Siddle is having many, many words in his ear. I wonder if it's a bit of, mate, just take yourself on.
Yeah, it makes no sense. The strikers, how are they going to win this game? They're going to win the game by bowling Brisbane Heat out, right? If this game goes the duration, you feel Brisbane Heat they should really win the game, right, from here. And for me, you've got the likes of Siddle in your ranks. You've got the likes of Wes Agar, and you've got to back your frontline bowlers.
Briggs around the wicket to Pearson, pushing him onto his back foot. He, in turn, pushes the ball into the offside, down to long off, single. That's how they're going to approach it, at least for the time being. Conservatively, make sure they do it. 63 for 3. Denley on strike. He's a runnable 28. Briggs, left arm round the wicket, and Denley this time onto his back foot, places it into the offside in between the fielder at backward point and extra cover. There's a man out at cover point, another one to the total. That's all right as far as the men in teal are concerned. 64 for 3. Here comes Briggs again, and this one again just back of a length, and he tries to angle that finally beyond Wes Agar at backward at short third, but a good diving stop from him means that it's only the single. He stopped the ball running away down to the boundary edge. 65 for 3. Pearson on strike. He's 12 from 15. Down the track, advances, thrashes the ball into the offside. Shouts of catch. The ball has landed in between 3 fielders converging. Extra cover was running back. Cover point on the boundary is running towards it, as was mid-off as well, and none of them could reach it in time, and he didn't strike it cleanly. The catch was a legitimate cry, but there was no one that was stood in the ultimate position to take it. So Pearson survives. 67 for 3. Denley waits, big stride forward. This one is a push into the offside, but covers onto it like a flash. 67 for 3. Final ball then of a 10th over coming up, and the Brisbane Heat needing still 64 runs to win. Briggs full. This is flashed straight back at him by Denley. A big thrash of the bat, and Briggs throwing himself onto the ground. All he can do is parry it to the fielder at mid-on, and he just gives a cry of pain because that was hit rather firmly, but it's a single. 68 for 3 then. The equation after 10 overs, the halfway mark, is that Brisbane Heat, with 7 wickets in hand, they need 63 runs off 60 balls, and at the moment, you imagine Michael Carberry there in the driving seat.
Yeah, you feel they should be. I mean, there shouldn't be any alarms from here. Again, some of the strikers' tactics are a little bit confusing. Look, there's more than enough time, I feel, you know, it's not a case of trying to hold back overs in this situation. I think you've got to almost empty the clip and try and, you know, you've got to be thinking wickets if you're going to win the game. And I think you've got to use your best bowlers. Travis Head is a decent-ish off spinner, and I'm sure in another situation is a handy performer, but in this situation now, for me, you've got to be looking at your O'Connors, you've got to be looking at Briggs, say experienced frontline spinners, you've got to be looking at Nisa, your Seamers, Peter Siddle with wealth of international experience. Wes Agar's been one of the top wicket takers, if not the top wicket taker in the tournament. You've got to be looking at those 5 guys and say, well, listen, you guys have got to win the game for us here. You know, we got to be thinking wickets. We've got to be thinking of knocking these 2 over, getting into that lower middle sector of the Brisbane Heat innings if we're gonna come away with the spoils. Wasting overs of trying to be again too funky, trying to bowl part-timers at this stage, for me, it gives the likes of Denley the opportunity to get off the hook, get a few boundaries away, and the game's gone, isn't it?
Well, you see, it's quite contrast, isn't it, between the two sides, where you've got the strikers going to have to sort of think about how they prize these 2 out. On the other side, Brisbane Heat, they just want to go as conservatively as they can, as calmly as they can. You think about the experience at the crease right now. Joe Denley, of course. You think about the wealth of T20 cricket behind him, whether it be in the Big Bash League or back home in the T20 Blast. And then Jimmy Pearson, the stand-in captain for when Lynn was absent with his hamstring injury. And in fact, it was Jimmy Pearson and the team under him that kind of steered the Heat back into their winning ways before the X Factor striking from Chris Lynn. Jimmy Pearson has played 74 BBL matches. He scored more than 1,000 runs. And they know if these 2 are in at the end, they're going to win. They're going to cruise to a win, the Brisbane Heats. They're just going to play it easily as they can. Joe Denley's at the moment runnable 32. Jimmy Pearson the other end 13 not out from 16. They've just got to be calm through this as we see the resumption of play. Denley is on strike. It's full on the onside. He's just played it into mid-wicket. Weatherall there careering down onto the ball, but they've snatched a single. Nisa, the man with the ball. His name's been flung around a lot when Australia have been playing. Very skillful bowler. 16 runs so far from his 2 overs. He's got the wicket as well. Out of Chris Lynn, such a big one at the start. He cleaned him up for 6. What can he do now? Right arm over, and Pearson pushed into his crease. Quick dab into the onside. It's a race between the deep square leg fielder and the mid-wicket. Square leg wins. 1 run off it, 70 for 3.
Yeah, see, I like this move from the skipper Travis Head to bring back one of your main seamers. You've got to try and break this partnership between Pearson and Denley. You don't want these 2 guys, as you say, there at the end because they've won. And I think this is the right way to go. You know, get rid of the overs from your frontline bowlers. Yeah. Therefore, you've tried your best to win the game.
Give it everything.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what Nisa's trying to do. Full one, very straight. And Denley just turns his bat, flick of the wrists, down to square leg, single again. This is the game plan. Keep that strike rotating. 71 for 3. 60 runs required off 57 balls, 7 wickets in hand. Run rate required just over 6. There's a few happy faces at the moment, at least, in that Brisbane Heat dugout.
Yeah, just would have, I'm sure, the
Nisa full to Pearson, and again very angle flick of the bat. He knew exactly where he wanted it. Determined shot, pushed it just straight of the man at mid-on, and he's come back for 2. That's good running, that's good calculation from these 2. Determined looks on their faces. 73 for 3.
Yeah, I'm sure Darren Lehman and Chris Lynn would have come out of the drinks and just issued a little bit of calm and just say, look, lads, we're doing a great job. Just keep more of the same.
Nisa, short ball and swivel of the hips then from the batter as he punches it down to backward of square leg. 1 run. 74 for 3. Denley back on strike. He's got a nice Lord Taverners
very funky
grip. Blue red, racing green in support of the charity. Here comes Nisa. Full Yorker length. Denley digs it out, but it's a dot ball. It's a good one to end then for the strikers. 74 for 3, 11 overs gone. They're chasing 130, so the Heat need 57 runs off 54 balls. The strikers then still in it, but only just.
Absolutely, and this is where Travis Head now has got to get cute and clever with how he uses his bowlers. You know, maybe sometimes one over spells. I know it's a bit annoying for bowlers. They like to get in a rhythm. You know, I'm surprised he hasn't introduced O'Connor back into the attack. Again, gives you a little bit of mystery, something different. Spin has responded very well to this pitch so far. The batters haven't really looked on top of their game against the over the wrist spinners on this pitch, so it's a little bit surprised, especially to likes of Denley, who's not a great player of spin. You know, enjoys the pace.
And we've seen how well leg break bowlers have done in this match so far. Yeah, 5 wickets between Marnus Labuschagne.
Yeah. What's going to sting if the strikers do lose this game and O'Connor doesn't bowl out? I think that's going to sting massively.
Siddle, his second over, short, pulled nicely by Pearson, onto his toes, into the onside, at least 2. If they come back for 3, no, it's just been 2. But that still runs, and that brings Pearson to 19 from 20 deliveries, 76 for 3. Siddle, the ever-present, the seasoned performer, although he's got a haircut, which makes you think that, you know, he's trying to wind back the years there, isn't he? He's sort of a Justin Timberlake from the 1990s. Here comes Siddle again, full. Pearson driving it nicely, beautiful shot, lovely intercept as well, actually, from the man diving to his right at mid-off. That's a really good stop there.
I'm in no position to talk of haircuts, Isabel.
Yeah, but yours is not a choice, though, is it?
Unfortunately, no. It stopped being a choice at about 22 years old, I'm afraid.
I was going to say, I mean, you've got on the one hand Siddle there, sort of seasoned performer, coming out with his Justin Timberlake sort of spaghetti hoops on his head as he's forward again, right arm, a full ball, and Denley driving, check drive to mid-on for a single, 78 for 3. On the one hand, you've got, Siddle there trying to wind back the years, and then you've got one thing I'd say for the coach and captain combination of Brisbane Heat between Chris Lynn and Darren Lehman is that they're not going to have to struggle about haircuts in lockdown, are they?
So I can relate to those two. See, the Mitchell brothers
suits some better than others.
On fire, mate. The Mitchell brothers. I would never be able to look at those two brothers in the same way now.
Pearson tries to dab it into the onside, tries to swivel around and pull it, but it stayed quite low there from Siddle, and I think it's just wrapped him.
Ouch.
On, I'm going to say the thigh pad, but it could be somewhere that's a little bit more painful, and a big ooh emanates from him. No concussion test
for that one, I think.
No, but maybe he wants to check some other parts. No run, 78 for 3. 53 runs required off the final 50 balls. Siddle, full toss. Pearson turns it into the onside, only so far as the fielder at mid-wicket, and it's a dot ball. So this is good stuff from Siddle then. He's got one more ball left of his second over, and his figures so far 1 for 5.
Wiley Fox, isn't he?
Oh, yes.
He just knows what to bowl when. That's a man who's very much in tune with his game and his thoughts at the moment. He just keeps it simple, doesn't he? He just attacks the stumps, runs in. He finds a little bit of movement here and there. Bowling at good pace as well. You know, he's up there, the high 130s, nearly 140s.
Final ball then of his second over into Pearson, full toss on the legs and just whipped into the onside. I think they've just managed the single. It was struck too cleanly. So 1 run to end the 12th over, 79 for 3. We saw Peter Siddle there just gesturing around the ground at his teammates, just calm.
Yeah.
You've got to just go back to basics.
Absolutely. Execution is the word of the day, I think.
And that's what they lacked with the bat. They had all the plans in the world. They couldn't quite pull it off with the bat. So they really are going to have to pull it out of the bag with this last 8 overs of their bowling innings. We've got a partisan crowd at the Gabba coming into the business end of this match. And you just wonder, how are they going to do it here? Adelaide strikers, 79 for 3 to Brisbane Heat. They're looking comfortable.
Yeah, and should be plain sailing from here. You think, if these two can sort of hang around for the next few overs, you know, as a batting pair, a batting unit, that one big over is only sort of round the corner. I think if you keep that in mind, there's still the surge to be taken as well, which they'll be looking at to where strikers can call the field up into the ring. That might be an opportunity to just get the straw to just break the camel's back, as they say.
Yes.
Run chase.
Hello again, Carbs.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. I think there's a twist left in this game. Maybe that's hope rather than expectation. But here comes Nisa to bowl to Pearson, who's deep in the crease. 1 run at least into the leg side. It will just be the single as Phil Salt fields on the boundary edge. And you just sense, there's something in this game. There's always something.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're probably going on history, you do feel there's maybe a little tiny collapse, maybe a 7 down last over, possibly extra over.
We could have the super over.
Super over.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'm well up for that. Nisa has 1 for 22. He's into his final over. He looks like he's bowled about 30 today. And he's charging in. And Denley gives himself some space, slaps it through the offside. That's a good looking shot. He's going to get 4 as well. He's found the gap. Fielder's in pursuit, won't cut it off. And Joe Denley is playing a really fine hand here in this innings. This has been an excellent performance, and crucially for the Brisbane Heat, he's created a little bit of a platform on a partnership.
Yeah, and we talked about experience of Peter Siddle. Let's not forget, Joe Denley, 35 years old. He's experienced man himself, been around a long time in county cricket, seen this situation many a time before.
Denley sways out of the way of a very short and wide delivery that is so wide that even Carey, who is a master at looking horrified at the umpire giving a wide decision, can't bring himself to question that one. It was loose and it was wide. 85 for 3 is the score. 46 needed at a runner ball. Denley has 39. It's been a really good innings from Joe Denley. It's been a good partnership this as well. It's worth, what now, 62 runs. Nisa in to bowl to Denley. Again, looking to give himself room to play it through the offside. Up on his toes to clip it towards Salt at square leg, though. 1 run taken. It is 86 for 3. 45 from 45.
Just shows, some of the viewers, it just shows you that T20 is not all about sixes, innovation. Good batsmanship still prevails, doesn't it? Good technique, nous, understanding the game situation, the wicket, the conditions.
Pearson, 22 from 25, is on strike, hitting into the leg side with a flick of the wrists for 1. And it's something that we've spent lots of time talking about, both on air and off, Michael, about the need actually to be able to play correct cricket shots in situations like this where the ability to slog is that much harder because of the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like the Joe Root theory, isn't it? Where do you keep Joe Root, who's a great player in his own right and has a fantastic record even in all forms.
Denley driving a nice looking shot through to deep cover for 1 more. 88 for 3.
Or do you insert another hitter because you felt that Joe Root didn't score quick enough, but you get in situations sometimes where wickets are a little bit sticky, a bit tired, a bit stoppy, and those guys are just as vital to your cause as your hitters.
Almost act as a fail-safe, the insurance policy, if a pitch doesn't allow the big hitters to get going. Pearson sees a full toss, which he'll help down to Agar, scooting round down on 1 knee. And the over concludes. 89 for 3, 42 needed at a runner ball. And they need a wicket, the Adelaide strikers. Just a reminder, if they lose this game, or whoever loses this game, is out of the tournament. So the winner will go through to play the Sydney Thunder in a couple of days' time, for the chance to then play the loser of the match between the Sydney Sixers and the Perth Scorchers tomorrow. The winner of that game between the Sixers and the Scorchers will go straight through to the final. That's their prize, that preferential position and that easier route to the final by virtue of having finished top and second in the table in the group stages. So the 4th and 5th place sides are playing this evening. The Strikers against the Heat. And the winner of that game will take on the 3rd place side, the Sydney Thunder. And so on and on we go. Here goes Briggs then. 3rd over for him. Down the track comes Pearson, defending, and a dot ball. They need dot balls. They need wickets, more importantly. Anything to build a bit of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny Briggs, he's done a mighty fine job as he's done through the tournament.
Swinging into the leg side, Pearson. He could find a boundary here if the ball can get away from O'Connor. He won't, but they will get 2. The crowd like that. 90 for 3, 91 for 3.
You know, maybe it's the time now where Travis Head may have to start getting a little bit cute with the field as well. Try and encourage a shot over the top, a big shot, maybe call up one of your boundary riders, get an extra catcher in just to try and break this open a little bit.
Briggs bowling to Pearson, calls through for the single quickly. It's one more into the offside at the moment. The analogy used of the every single a drop of blood, it feels at the moment they are just gently getting there. Yeah. It may not be the savage 6s and 4s that are going to get the job done quickly, but it is at the moment coming quickly enough. It's in the air though, and that could be a catch, and it is. Denley goes. An injudicious shot from the England batsman, and he's been caught at long off. Hands stretched out wide by Michael Carberry, who looks appalled and frankly offended by the dismissal. 92 for 4, and that might be the twist that we were wondering if we would see.
Well, you called it, didn't you? You said there was going to be a twist, and I think that's it right there. A very odd bit of cricket. You can see in Joe Denley's face, what have I just done there? There was absolutely no need to do that. You've got the equation down, third, a run a ball. Why? You've been struggling for runs. This is the time you've got to get hungry, you've got to get greedy, ruthless. And, you know, Joe Denley, for such a fine player, that's a very disappointing dismissal. And, you know, this is the thing now with 2020. You leave the door open, suddenly, you know, Joe Burns is not a great nick. Suddenly he gets a pearler first ball. Suddenly the equation looks very different. You're now 5 or 6 down for 90, still needing 40 to win. Let's just hope that doesn't come back to bite him in the bum.
Burns scores in the last 4 matches. 2-1, 7-2.
Well, at least he's getting it done over and quickly.
He's not, yeah, 2 off 100 ball. No, he's not in great nick. No, he has hit a 50 in this tournament against the Thunder way back when he came into the side after a tough time of it with the Australian Test team. But since then, a high score of 31 not out. Otherwise, it's been mostly single figures. Briggs into bowl. Oh, it's in the air. Should be taken, dropped. The fielder at slip has put it down. It's a huge chance. Burns' first ball should have been taken. Weatherald has put down a simple chance. It's gone reasonably quick, but it's right in the breadbasket, and he's put it down.
Wow.
Burns on strike into the leg side, a dot ball. It's been a good over, really good over. 39 needed from 36. Denley's gone for 41. It should have been Burns as well.
We called it, didn't we?
Oh, it's getting lively.
We're going to go, me and you are going to the shop. We're going to put on a lottery ticket tonight. I'm telling you, our numbers are coming up. That is a big miss.
It is.
That is a big miss. I think that was a big miss. Joe Burns, I said, not in great form, and can you imagine? Suddenly 5 for 90. What that does to the rest of the change room. Suddenly there's people scrambling for pads.
It gets very interesting then, doesn't it? It went quickly. It was a late cut, but he's got to take it. And actually, he had 2 chances to take it. Both have gone down. First of all, I think chest height, and then hits the body in front of him, and actually kicked his legs behind him rather than just the step forward that would have allowed the catch. And Burns gets very lucky.
It's a tough one for a slip fielder. The cut is always a tough one for the slip fielder to spin, because you're kind of on the back foot anyway. You're expecting, you know, and it seems to gather so much more pace naturally because the batters are going hard at it. But
more spin from O'Connor, single taken to deep cover. It's 93 for 4.
You feel in the situations you've got to be taking those really. Never easy. No slip catch is ever easy, but you know you've got to be taking those, especially at this stage. 5 for 90, boy, it really puts the skids under the Brisbane Heat there.
No slip catches are easy. Some are easier than others.
True.
And that one was probably marginally towards the side of the easy. Burns still on noughts. He will get a run behind square on the offside on that occasion. O'Connor struggling to find his length at the moment as one run is taken. 37 needed from 34 deliveries. It's Big Bash League cricket on 5 Live Sports Extra. Henry Moran alongside Michael Carberry, a winner of this tournament 6 years ago with the Perth Scorchers.
God, seems a long time ago, isn't it?
Pearson on 28 works the ball wristily into the leg side. Every single cheered by this Gabba crowd. They know the importance of this partnership. 2 runs actually taken. That's good running. 35 from 33. Does it feel a long time ago, that, Carbs?
It does, yeah. I think 6 years ago. Yeah.
Well, of course, January 2021 has had 4,000 days in it. Or is it just me that's felt like that?
No, I share that sentiment as well, mate.
O'Connor pushed into the offside, and there is 1 run taken.
It was the longest Christmas holiday ever.
97 for
Big
4.
Bash kept us going, I think.
It did. 97 for 4. And it's what's kept me going, hearing from listeners what they're up to and enjoying and listening to the programme. So thank you for keeping in touch and keeping our spirits up as well. Burns is on 1. O'Connor into him. That's a better length. Defended into the offside. They're going to have to be quick. Throw comes in, non-strikers end, misses. Burns looked uncertain in his running, as he has done in his shots. But he does get a run. It's 98 for 4. Ball left to the 15.
And that's the thing that infuriates fielding captains. You're there on the 1 to stop that little dink into the offside, and they still scamper through. You've got to get tighter there. Still would like to see a slip, you know, put some pressure on Burns in particular. Just come to the crease. He's already nicked one behind. Not in great touch.
O'Connor to Pearson. Gently back to the bowler. Dot ball to finish the over. We've seen 5 runs during the over. 98 for 4, 15 gone. We've still got the power surge available to the Brisbane Heat. So that will potentially create opportunity for boundaries. What it doesn't do, though, is allow them so easily to nudge and nurdle for the singles. That is how they've been approaching things in the last few overs. So there's a sort of, I suppose, a contradiction in the sense that it's meant to increase the run scoring, but actually it could slow them down because of the way they've been trying to approach this.
But this is my thinking, is, you know, from a Travis Head's perspective, you know, for me, the power surge has got to, in your own mind, has got to come, really start to think about it now in terms of squeezing Burns, putting him under the most pressure. You know, roll the dice here, bring the field up, you know, say to him, come and play the big shot.
Burns on strike as Briggs starts a new over. Cut behind square, there won't be a run. Agar inside the circle, and actually is a packed field on the offside inside the circle to prevent the singles, because they know that this partnership keeps going the way it's trying to, it'll win them the game. Briggs bowling to Burns. Another dot ball. 2 dots to start the over. This is what they need. The run rate for the first time creeps above 7 and over.
So Captain Henry Moran, how are you getting him out, more importantly, with this field?
Burns into the offside. Another dot ball. I think you're trying to frustrate him to play the big shot. He's probably, as opposed to anything too aggressive, maybe. Burns onto, it's going to be 1 down the ground, but it's the first run of an over that has been so far excellent for Danny Briggs and the strikers. He only has 2 balls left of his spell. That's figures of 1 for 14. Pearson will be on strike. He's got 31 from 34. The equation and the required rate stands at 7.38.
It's been an outstanding spell, really, hasn't it?
Can he finish it well? Pearson on the back foot will get 1 through to deep cover to get Burns back on strike. 100 comes up, 100 for 4. The PA announcer tries to give it the big one and get the crowd revved up, but I think they're probably feeling a bit nervous. I don't think they're going to be in the mood for fireworks and partying quite yet. I want to see this job done. 31 needed from 25. Here comes Briggs to bowl to Burns, who's driving. Will get 1 out to deep cover. That's all. Excellent spell from Danny Briggs. Excellent over as well. Applause from the commentary box from Michael Carberry. 4 overs for Briggs, 1 for 16. It is 30 from 24 balls, 6 wickets in hand. The loser of this game is gone. That is it. It is that on the line for the Brisbane Heat and the Adelaide Strikers. The Heat, with Pearson on 32 and Burns on 4, have victory in sight, but a little flurry of wickets, a poor over could change everything. Michael Carberry, some thoughts from you, and Izzy Westbury will take us through to the close.
Yeah, I'm applauding a trademark Danny Briggs spell. Seen that many a time at my time with him at Hampshire. Great T20 bowler. Just knows what to do, knows his game, and I think he can be very pleased with his efforts in this match. Although you feel that unless something they can break this open, that it's probably slightly drifting away from Isabel's beloved strikers.
They're still in with a chance.
They are.
30 runs, 24 balls. It's one of those you think if you can get to the last over, although a little bit not quite sure why Head, love him as I do, skipper of Adelaide Strikers, has decided to bring himself back on, and I think he's just gone with the theory of spin to win, and I'm the captain, going to have to take responsibility. I don't know. I mean, it's a part-time offie, isn't he, really?
For not getting any runs, so I'll have a bowl as well.
Yeah,
stripes,
making amends. I don't know. Maybe he's consulted with others and they've agreed. I don't know. Burns on 4. He's on strike. Head to round the wicket, bowling his little prickly off spinners. It's just dabbed into the onside. No run. So it's a good start for him. 101 for 4, 30 runs needed off 23 balls, back of a length, pulled nicely into the onside, and always a lot of room to make up there for Wes Agar, running round to the boundary, and he's not going to get there in time. It's a boundary. 4 runs, and as Wes Agar picks himself off the turf, he's looking into the eyes of the Brisbane Heat fans who are up on their feet. And they needed that, just settle those nerves. They definitely are around. 4 runs, 105 for 4, 26 to win off 22 balls. And again, slightly short from Head and pulled into the onside. And a shake of the head from Michael Carberry to my left. Why on earth is Head bowling at this stage? That is the question. 106 for 4, 25 runs needed off 21 balls. Isabel, I have to say I'm very perplexed as to what I'm seeing here. Head flat delivery again, straight into the onside, just turned by Pearson, who is the sort of incumbent steady head at the crease. 33 from 36 deliveries, 24 runs acquired off 20 balls, 6 wickets in hand. You've got Wes Agar, who's your leading wicket taker. You've got Peter Siddle, who is got a wealth of experience. Head round the wicket, swept nicely by Burns into the onside. They want to come back for 2, and there might be a chance of a run out there. As Pearson was coming back for the second, he was turned back by Burns at the non-striker's end, and he had to dive to make his ground. The throw came in, the keeper wanted it, he had his arms aloft. We're going to see a replay here. I think he's back just in time. I tell you what, that was nifty footwork there from Pearson. He's not out, and he's facing. Final ball then of the 17th over. Pearson on 33, 23 needed off 19, and he's just whipped that into the onside, just to the left-hand side of short, fine leg, and it's a single to end. So not particularly great over there from Head, especially at this stage of the match. I'm trying to think, there must have been, 9 runs off that, 22 runs required off 18 balls the last 3 overs, 109 for 4. And I wonder whether he was over-analysing and
Come
thinking...
on, Skipper Westbury,
What he was basically thinking...
What are you thinking?
What he was thinking was spin and slow bowling was what really sort of turned the screw on the innings of the strikers, and he felt, right, therefore I need to have some spin, therefore I've got, 2 right-handers at the crease, bit of off-spin more so than... I've got absolutely no idea why he's there, but the only thing I'd say is slow bowling. But then you think, well, why... If you want slow bowling, then what about O'Connor?
Well, this is my point.
Yeah.
Why? If you're going to lose the game, surely it's better you lose the game with your frontline bowlers having bowled out.
Yeah.
And it's just a case of just didn't get enough runs, and that's fair enough.
But
we didn't bat well enough.
It's like a sort of captaincy is chasing your tail. It's that you stick a fielder in somewhere where someone's just plugged the ball, and you feel that's the same with the bowling. Is that actually you should be relying on your tried and tested bowlers, your Nieces, your Agar. Okay, Nieces bowler, but Agar's got 2 overs left, Siddle as well. You should be bowling them out every day of the week, and yet they're not. One or both of them are not going to bowl out their overs. What's our favourite saying of today? Winners have parties, losers have meetings. I've never heard this phrase, and it's the first time. And you said it. I love it. No, absolutely. I think it's a lovely thing. cricket, everyone talks about cricket as the thinking man's woman's game, but it's not really, is it? It's actually, it's it's simple. Back to basics. Yeah. Here comes Siddle. He's a man in control of the basics, certainly. A swivel of the hits by Pearson, tries to pull it down to fine leg. They come back for 2. No, they're not going to settle for the single. 22 runs needed off 18 balls, 110 for 4 into the 18th over. They're still in it, strikers, but they're kind of fingertips on the, crabbling up the cliff edge, just from fingertips. I've got the Lion King and Mufasa in my head, just scrabbling up that cliff, but I fear that they're going to fall into the abyss below.
It's kind of been how they've played the whole game, really, bat and ball. It's just
scrabbling.
Yeah, like
clinging on, just having a bit of a break, because I think Pearson was just wrapped on the head. And we've got the interesting. This is actually slightly heartbreaking that we've got the figures in for the crowd at the Gabba. There are almost 21,000 people there, 20,900.